initiate chaos theory guarantees that we'll play like lightning shots, sounding like thunder. For every time in the face that it hits us, we're faster. Well, they should know by now. They see the world keeps trying to shake us. It only wakes us. The pendulum swings. The pendulum swings. It's in a beautiful darkness. Only another. It's full steam ahead. Full steam ahead. All above the Betty Express. Misdirected from the start. It's a runaway train. I come a freight train. I come a freight train. In a beautiful darkness, the Betty Express. In a beautiful
Okay, y'all, I need you to brace yourselves. Not since the mad, incoherent ramblings of Sarah Boone have there been letters more distasteful to the human soul. But today we are going to get smack dab into Mr. Tanner Horner's, attempted deletion notes. And if you thought that maybe in any of these, 4 or 5 handwritten notes of insanity, there was any reflection or, accountability, self-discipline, any sort of anything that took responsibility for this, you're still going to be looking because in one letter that Tanner wrote to the family, he blames his autism or Asperger's and FedEx. In fact, encouraging the family to sue FedEx for his crime. So, not since Daryl Brooks have we found a more tangential causal link, you know, to a crime. But Mr. Horner's asserts that it was all FedEx's fault, and then Big Top, subcontractor. Now, in a letter to the detectives, he blames a fictional old man. So that's kind of our first witness for today coming into Monday. We are back with the coolest looking detective, or not detective, CSI team lead with the I wear dark glasses inside because a grasshopper hates me. Uh, he is going to be back on the stand. We are going to get into the letters that Mr. Horner wrote when he attempted to self delete. They are going to be read into the record by the witness. And then we are going to get into, after that testimony, we are going to get into the FBI agents who assisted in the recovery of little Athena. So that's about where I stopped. Now, the defense does want to voir dire the FBI agent who was one of the two that were at the collection of the body from the water. But that's what we're looking at after we get done with, I wear sunglasses inside because of a grasshopper. Uh, but I did want to warn you, pay attention to your mental safety and your eyeballs because they might roll so incredibly hard that they will roll across the street. Because, oh, and blessed be all, because the defense this weekend did not find clarity or reflection, but Timu Reba or Bonnie Raitt decided to find a wonder bra. So, holy bazoombas, Batman! At least we've got Bob's to look at.
Yes. Correct. Okay. Please have people figure out or look at her up.
And I am not surprised to see the crowd kind of thin out. We are getting into where I anticipate that either in the afternoon today or early morning tomorrow, we are going to get into the testimony of the medical examiner. And I would imagine that many of the family members, many of the friends possibly just can't be in the room when the reality of what happened to this little girl is going to be talked about in such clinical and detached ways. So I am trying to I want you guys to have a heads up as much so as I can. So I will try to warn you if we get to the medical examiner's testimony today. But where we are going with, the next witness being the FBI agent who was there and retrieved her out of the water, I do anticipate the medical examiner to be one of the next few witnesses. So again, I will be breaking down this entire live feed into individual witnesses. So if you decide today, hey, this seems like a day it's going to be a whole lot for me, uh, I completely understand it. Thank you for hanging out when you can, but do be mindful of your mental health, all of you guys. We have puppy kitten breaks. We have Mr. Pancake. 4 moments of levity should we need them.
Morning. We are ready to proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator Yarrow, welcome back. I wanted to ask you a few more questions from your testimony on Friday. We talked about an incident at the Weiss County Jail related to Tanner Horner that occurred after he had been incarcerated, in which there was, I believe, an attempted suicide that you then investigated. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And as part of that investigation, kind of tell me just a synopsis of what you did.
The synopsis of the scene was I entered the cell. Horner had already been transported to the hospital at that time. My initial is just like any other scene. We're going to photograph the scene in its entirety. We're going to start by taking overall photographs. We're going to move to mid-range. We're going to move to close-ups.
Slow down a little bit. So you're going to...
Now, Core TV doesn't have closed captions on their live days, so we are at 1.25, but if we need to slow it down, just let me know. And if you have any questions, if you're new to the trial, if you put a big old question mark in there, I'm more likely to notice them. I do have ADHD, like most all YouTube content creators. So the big, red question symbol does get my attention.
So you took a number of photographs?
I did, sir.
And prior to court today, did I have you look at some photographs?
Yes, sir, I did.
That were part of the photographs that you took that day?
Yes, sir.
In addition to taking photographs, did you take some items into evidence?
I did.
And were some of those items documents?
Yes.
Okay. Specifically, what type of documents?
Handwritten letters, sir.
Okay. And may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Investigator Yarrow, I am going to show you what has been marked. The state's exhibit number 276, 277, 278. There's no 279. There's no document for that. 280, 281, 282, 283, 284, and 285. Have you seen those today?
Yes, sir.
Are those photographs that you took at the time you were investigating this attempted suicide?
Yes.
And are they true and correct as to what they represent in those photographs?
Yes.
You also have the original documents with you if they needed to be entered for purposes of the record.
Yes, I do.
And are these photos, are they true and correct copies of the original documents?
Yes.
I'm going to take off closed captioning because they are going to show the letter and he will be narrating it for us. After they show the pictures, he will be reading the entire letter. So that way you guys can read along too if you want to without the closed captions kind of in the way.
At this time, Your Honor, I'll offer an evidence state's exhibit number 276, 277, 278, no exhibit for 279, and the 280, 281, 282, 283, 284, and 285.
Look, I know they're just prescription, but they also are deeply cool.
State's exhibits
276 through 278, and 280 through 285.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I publish, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
First, I'm going to display State's Exhibit number 276. What are we looking at in State's Exhibit 276?
So that's the built-in bench within the cell, and on top of the built-in bench are the sealed letters that I recovered from the scene.
And did you lay them out in this manner, or were they that way when you took the photograph?
They were laid out in that manner.
Was there anybody else in that cell besides the defendant, other than the Mercy personnel, that before you took these photographs?
No.
And if we look at these photographs, I'm going to ask.
It didn't do this all this weekend. I cleared my cache like right before I went on screen. You, Google, you and me are going to have issues. Now, if you can't see them because it is a little blurry, the first one says for Athena's family. He also has the handwriting of, again, John Doe from 7. The other one says detectives only.
What the envelope says. Can you see that?
For Athena's family.
Okay, that's the first envelope.
Yes.
Second envelope.
Detectives only.
Okay. Third envelope.
That's to Legacy Church.
Okay. Fourth envelope.
And then to Melissa Horner and Jackie, I'm not sure the last name.
Okay. And then finally.
And then to Cassie something.
Okay. So with regard to that, then those individual documents, you can take those things into evidence.
Yes.
Okay. And so now we're going to look at State's Exhibit number 277. Is that the evidence bag you collected those things in?
Yes, sir, it is.
And you have that actually with you today, correct?
I do.
All right. Now with regard to 278, we're now looking at just a more close-up photograph of the envelope to Athena's family. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And inside of that envelope, did it have a handwritten letter?
Yes.
So now we're going to look at 280. Okay, this is 280. Is this the true and correct copy of that handwritten letter, the front side of it?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask to deal.
Brace yourself. If you're expecting any self-reflection, any admitting of guilt or actual atonement or any sort of actual genuine feelings of regret, you will find none of it here in these scribble scratchings of a moron. No, we will find how FedEx is really responsible for all of this. In fact, y'all should all be mad at FedEx by the end of this letter.
Publish this record by reading it into the record. Okay. Thank you. To Athena's family, I wanted to start by saying how sorry I am about Athena. The entire time I've known my legal counsel, they've continued to tell me how I don't need to apologize, shouldn't apologize until the trial. And frankly, I can't hold it in any longer. I've done a terrible thing to your family, and I'm sorry. I can't tell you how many countless nights I've stayed awake, unable to sleep. I pray for all of you. So many were affected by my breakdown. Not just your family, but my own as well. You'll never get to see your baby girl grow up, and I'm sorry. Now my son is going to grow up without his father and protector. I owe it all.
Again, I cannot explain to you how incredibly, again, like I said in the Canero case, it was mildly aggravating. It was irritating when the defense was so wholly incapable and undefensible. Like, that was kind of funny. I mean, but it became downright disrespectful. It became galling after we saw the video and we knew for sure that their client was basically videotaped before he did a quadruple murder. I cannot explain how bad it is for the defense to have him continually mentioning his being a father after that audio has played. It was detrimental, it was aggravating, it was infuriating before, but now it is downright disgusting. Now it is almost visceral hatred I feel whenever he mentions his child, and I can't be the only one who feels that on the jury. I can't be the only one who I have no ill will towards his son. I hope that his ex, and his child can go on to live a free, full, and productive life without the shenanigans this man, uh, you know, offers. That being said, it is going to become further and further beyond aggravating as they continue to place their defendant as a victim. It was one thing to do it before the audio, but after the audio, there is no excuse. You want your client to fry. I have stated that I think this defense is a plant from the state to get them to see Old Sparky quicker, and today has done nothing to dissuade me of that.
I owe it to you all to explain where my mind is at. Let me start by saying that I have Asperger's syndrome. In other words, I'm on the autism spectrum. I don't do well with change or
You know how many people I know with autism are on the spectrum? I mean, seriously, YouTube. And none of them have ever been anything other than really awesome human beings to me. Again, you want to talk about creating stigma for mental health, allow every single monster to use it as an excuse and then see where the stigma goes. Because again, autism and Asperger's are not generally correlated with violent behavior.
things that are unpredictable in nature. When I first started out as a driver at FedEx, I was given a singular route, and that route wouldn't change for a while. After a bit, my employer started making random changes to my route, adding stuff from other routes so they could make more money. I don't do well with change. Again, I can have meltdowns when unexpected changes to my daily routine happen. It was so bad one day I started to have a suicidal episode. I had to leave early that day, or I was going to walk myself into oncoming traffic.
Okay, and this is going to sound really crass, and look, why is it all these monsters, the only thing they seem to ever fail historically at is self-deletion? Why is it they never seem to fail on hurting others, but they always seem to fail on, shuffling off the mortal coil of their own selves? Again, y'all, I am trying to whew. We are going to take a moxie break after this letter because I, in particular, was throwing things like stuffed animals. So we might need a little bit of a break.
The only thing that stopped me was thinking of my son growing up without his father. So I took off for a week and sought out help. I got put on medication, and a week later I was back at work. I've let my employers know how I needed to keep consistent routine and I wouldn't have any issues. However, I was ignored. When I returned, they did the opposite of what was good for someone like me. They made me a floater. They put me on a different route every day, every time, going on to the next page. Now we're going to go on.
Now, you guys, don't you see how it was all FedEx's fault, really? I mean, could Tanner have self-control? Could Tanner have found a different job? Well, hell no. It was really all big FedEx. FedEx might want to sue for defamation.
States Exhibit No. 281. Is this a true and correct copy of the second page of that document, Investigator Yarl?
Yes.
Okay. May I publish, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I reminded them that I needed to be on a routine. It was like it would go in one ear and out the other. My mental health started to steadily get worse because of it. I couldn't just quit either. I had a son and I had to take care of it. Then on top of all that.
Sir, we have seen the shack that would one day hope to be called a hovel that you lived in. You were not taking care of your son. Your son benefited from the fact that grandma didn't want him living in whatever you call that pigsty that you lived in. Your son is better exponentially without you. The fact that you continue to try to push your presence on your son shows that you have no understanding of you making his life harder.
Certain aspects of my home life started to fall apart as well. I guess they got sick of me constantly telling them I needed consistency because they sold me off to another company without me having any say in the matter. In hindsight, I'm starting to think they were attempting to get me to quit, which in retrospect was kind of scummy. After a while, with the new contractor I started with, Big Top Spin, my life started to kind of fall back into place. I got a car again, but I was still consistently stressed and had multiple minor meltdowns because even this new company had no regard for my mental health because they still refused to put me on consistent route. The holidays came and my stress.
Again, Cletus, let me explain something. You're working in shipping. It's the holidays. It's the busiest season of the year for package shipping. If you can't handle change, then maybe you should go back to being a fry boy.
Only multiplied. They forced everyone to work 6-day weeks as volume got higher and higher. It was all the wrong place and the wrong time. I'm sorry I allowed my mental state to be unstable. I'm sorry I took your little angel away from you. She didn't deserve it. You all didn't deserve it. My son didn't deserve to lose his father. My mother didn't deserve to lose her son. My fiance didn't deserve to have her wedding day stripped from her. I pray that my death eases your suffering in some way. The only thing I ask for, forgiveness, and for you to remember my son and show him some grace and mercy, for he no longer has his father. I love you all, and I'm sorry. Hannah Horn. Is that what it says?
Yes, sir.
All
right. So again, I really, really don't care about your son, and the grading addition of his mother and all of that. You made the choice. You stripped it from him. It wasn't this nebulous thing that happened to you. This nexus of control being outside of himself is so aggravating because it's really interesting how he's a victim of circumstances. Because let's go back to, and y'all, I hate to show this photo because it freaking breaks my heart. But where is it? All right. This is the real Tanner Horner. When Tanner thinks he has power, when Tanner thinks he is the big man, when Tanner doesn't have any checks and balances, when he doesn't have people with, force multipliers and tasers yelling at him, when he gets to be in charge, this is the Tanner we see, whistling Dixie while he steals an angel from this world. So I'm sorry if my compassion for Tanner's family is less than fucking zero, but the audacity, y'all, the fucking audacity must be on clearance, cause, whew. He also added an addendum, y'all, a postscript on a POS postscript, if you will.
So now, with that envelope, is there also a smaller piece of paper inside of that envelope?
Yes.
Okay. So now I'm going to go on to State's Exhibit number 281. Is this the front side of that smaller piece of paper?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Side notes. FedEx Ground themselves are quite negligent when it comes to safety. They do nothing to make sure contractors' vehicles are actually road ready. Polaris and Big Top Spin both tell their employees to lie under beginning and end of day expectation because it's a pain to unground vehicles. And then the backside also has some writing, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now I'm going to go on to State's Exhibit number 283. I hope this letter both helps you ease your suffering and helps with your case against FedEx. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I forgot one thing. I want to go back to the top of State's Exhibit 281. We did not read this part. It says, little asterisk says, just know I have found God through all of this. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and I would like to speak on that. My favorite bumper sticker is, yes, Jesus loves you. Everyone else thinks you're a cunt. But I'm thinking God's going to be the only one that's going to rep you now. And even he doesn't really want to be associated with you because God loves, red rummers who atone. there is no sin that God can't forgive, but you actually have to want forgiveness. You have to work toward it. You have to admit you were wrong. And right now, this entire letter has been on how you can sue FedEx for my bad behavior. Almost like I didn't have to be an adult. Doggone it, why didn't wasn't someone babysitting me in society?
Your Honor, we would ask that the state read everything. He omitted the closing.
I believe you skipped one line at the very end.
Very good. Oh, I apologize. I did write, I love you all, and I'm sorry. Okay, so with love and sorrow and remorse, I love you all, and I'm sorry, can't afford it. Is that the part?
Good defense. What did you think that you got from this to remind, anyone? Do you think that, again, Tanner writing some little stupid bit about remorse is really helpful after that audio? I mean, this letter would have me just saying, "Okay, Sparky, y'all can have them."
Now, in addition to this letter, the other letter I want to talk about is the one that said for detectives only, all right?
Yes, sir.
So we're going to go to State's Exhibit number 284. This is the envelope, is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And inside of that envelope, did it have a one-page letter with that?
Yes.
Now brace yourself. You thought that he was doing the Letitia Light, action. But no, he has gone full Letitia because in this letter, he has found his own Eduardo. It's not Quincy Brown, it's not Eduardo, but there definitely was a random old man that actually kidnapped Athena. And if the detectives would only look, they would find the one-armed man.
And may I publish this, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Detective, my family is in danger. It's 2 days before my arraignment date, and I'm worried that I'll be killed either to or from my way to court. The day Athena was killed, I wasn't the only one involved. When I pulled up to the house, an older man had pulled a rifle on me and demanded my wallet. It's weird, he almost expected me to be there. After he checked my wallet, he gave me instructions after handing me my
I love that the made up actual kidnapper checked his wallet. Again, did you watch Letitia? And for the love of all that is unholy, why did you decide to emulate someone that was already convicted? I mean, her conviction has been overturned, but let's be real. She's going to get reconvicted, okay? So why would we go full Letitia?
wallet pack. He told me to take the girl and bring her to a specific spot, parentheses, the area with the tall grass bamboo, in parentheses. He gave me a change of clothes for the girl and told me to have her change into them before handing her over to him. He had threatened my family and I didn't know what to do, so I just went along with it. Don't tell the media, BTW. IDK, if he's going to do something. If I'm killed on the way to or from the courthouse, I'll assume it was him. When I handed her over, she seemed like she knew him. It kind of freaked me out and she calmed down after seeing him. I shut my headlights off and followed them, and I saw him park his truck by that creek. The next day, I went by there after work and saw the girl's body. I put her body in the water. I needed to get this out, even if it was just in writing. Don't tell the media. Don't tell my family. They'll tell the media. Don't tell the family of Athena until after their lawsuit against FedEx goes through. This is between me and you, detective. As big as it's
Sebastian, no, that is fine. This is actually a pretty hard case, though we are having fun because the defendant has gone full Letitia Stalk, which you should never do at all. But this is a very famous case. It happened in 2022. A little girl named Athena Strand, about 7 years old, was abducted from her front yard by a FedEx driver who was dropping off a package for Christmas. He was found within 24 hours of her abduction. Unfortunately, it was not in time to save little Athena. Now, the kind of interesting thing about this case is that right on the first day of trial, Tanner Horner has pled guilty. So while we are essentially getting the same trial we would have gotten if the jury was still kind of having to adjudicate innocence and guilt, what they will now be, the only thing they will now be deliberating on is whether this gentleman, for lack of wanting to call him an expletive, gets life in prison without parole or capital punishment. Now, another interesting thing about this case is that while he did cover up the video recording equipment in his van where the incident took place, there was audio recording of this little girl fighting for her life. Now, the jury has heard that. That was not published out to streaming. And quite frankly, I think that's great. But this has definitely been a harder case just with all the information we have. And we are starting to get into, well, the more nitty gritty witnesses. So after this particular witness, we will be getting the FBI agent who was part of the two-man team that pulled Athena out of the creek where she was found. So it's been a very interesting case. Now, I have been extremely impressed with the judge and the state on this case. The state has been extremely reserved. They could pull our hearts out through our eyeballs every day, and they have been very reserved in the way they, present evidence, in the way they show certain things. And if we had to go through this kind of horrible trial, the judge and the state have been very good. Uh, yes, it does, Sebastian. Now, I will say that for the defense, whether they are ideologically driven or very much in the camp of the defendant, they seem to be diametrically opposed to themselves. And what I'm saying is they are not presenting themselves as sort of the humanizing avatar for their monster of a client. If anything, they seem to have bought full hook, line, and sinker that their client is ultimately the victim in this case, and are playing this trial as though he doesn't have any ownership of this. They have been very, very quick to point out that he and his family were, harassed by SWAT. So they seem guaranteed. The defense seems guaranteed to get him a capital punishment sentence. But I will let you guys take make your own opinions about them. I will say the defense did not find a clue or how to read the room, but the lady defense attorney, Timu Bonnie Raitt, did find a wonder bra this weekend, so at least we have Bob's to look at. And thank you, Wolfram, for being a motley mod of greatness, and have a wonderful lunch.
As long as it stays between us, my family stays safe. I'll gladly keep the blame as long as they're safe. The man was older, probably 50s, gray hair, short military-style haircut, kind of fat, with a bit of upper body muscle. I handed him the girl's clothes when I gave him her. I either missed the pants or he put them back on the truck somehow. I'm not sure, but 3 times he asked me about the cameras on the FedEx truck. Unless y'all find him, keep it from everybody. I don't want my family hurt. I'm sorry I've been a burden on y'all. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
We can turn the lights back on. With regard to that, in one of those letters, is he taking responsibility?
Yes,
Which one?
first.
What about the other one?
No.
Is he blaming it on somebody other than himself?
Yes.
Your first name, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Yes, excuse me, not yesterday, but
Now, again, I would like to posit to you 2 different ways to think about the set of evidence that is coming in. Now, the defense is going to be very persnickety about this evidence. Essentially, what is coming in or what the state is trying to bring in now are the clothing, the items of clothing down to the underpants that Tanner Horner was arrested in. Now, he was arrested about 24 hours after Athena went missing. Now, we have seen where Tanner lived. We have seen a shack that one day hopes to be called a hovel. Uh, so the argument that the defense is making that these were not the clothes that he wore during the incident doesn't really paint a good picture, and I'll kind of explain this my reasoning for this. Now, there were evident and obvious stains on the underpants of a happy variety, even to the naked eye, okay? Now, the defense claiming that these were not the clothing that he took Athena in, I really want to ask the defense, is it a better story? Is it a better idea to put in the jury's head that your client was so excited about what he had done that he continuously leaked love gravy into his pants? Or that he was a gross person who didn't change his underpants. I mean, both stories are rotten. I just don't know why you would be bringing attention to either possibility by contesting this evidence after your client's already pled guilty. But they are going to try. I just do not know how either story is better.
Last Friday, when you were testifying, we admitted a number of pictures of the clothing that you took out of the defendant's locker. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And I believe we admitted maybe one or two of those items. We didn't admit all of the ones that I had meant to admit. So I want you to look at a couple things. State's Exhibit number 227 is. Can you tell us what? Do you recognize that first of all?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what it is?
This is going to be the suspect's underwear, sir.
Okay. And did you collect those and take them into evidence after you did whatever processing that you were going to do?
I did.
Okay. And what kind of processing did you do on them?
I collected more photographs in the lab, and then I also took swab.
John Lithgow, see, I said Ed Begley Jr., probably because I'm watching Young Sheldon, but you are right. John Lithgow does work too. Although I don't know if I can be a fan of John Lithgow now that he's, tied to current Harry Potter from HBO. Jason J., it's not a dumb question. Did they actually find the clothes he wore? From what we have learned in the trial, not yet. Now, we do know that there was a FedEx shirt and a large hooded sweatshirt that were taken from his hovel. But we haven't gotten to the part in trial where they say whether any of these things have been tested. So we do know that things were taken from his hovel, but we haven't gotten to the testing bit yet.
After doing that, did you seal them up in this package?
Yes.
And were they then later transported somewhere else, and there's some type of an opening on the bag to indicate that they were processed at a different location?
Yes. Yes, sir.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, I'll offer the evidence State's Exhibit 227.
Your Honor, we object as to relevance. This evidence was collected 3 days after the event and there is no testimony that this was the underwear that he was wearing at the time of the incident.
Again, defense, how does this make your client look any better? You are fighting for your client's life. Again, how is the narrative any better that he was, again, so excited about his crime that he continuously leaked love batter to where it was naked eye visible? How is that any better for your client? Okay. Again, I'm a twice college dropout. I mean, maybe this is a strategy, maybe this is 4D chess, but I would think drawing attention to the fact that your client is like just degeneracy in a human sack probably isn't the best defense.
State's Exhibit 227 is removed.
Now, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 228. Can you tell me what that is?
Yes, sir. This is actually a long hair that I collected off of the inside of his underwear.
Okay. And was that also appears open?
Also, again, defense. Tony from A Lawyer Explains always talks about this when he's kind of critiquing defenses. He's much nicer than I am. But he always talks about how the defense you if your client is a monster, you have to be seen as kind of the avatar of a honest dealer, the humanizing face of your client. And the fact that a long hair that's probably going to be linked to Athena was found in these underpants, and the defense is pulling this, well, we don't know if he changed his underpants in 3 days. Again, not something I would be pointing out for my client. But again, if the jury sees all this, they know, again, I'm assuming because we haven't gotten to this, but at this point, that long hair is probably going to be leaked back to Athena. And if I'm a juror, I'm going to become, again, more and more pissed off, especially after that audio, with the constant, like, sleight of hand that the defense is doing. That's why I say I think this defense is a plant from the state, because if they wanted to guarantee that everyone hated their client more, that he was, assured a possible capital punishment, they would run their case like this.
Later at a lab
Yes,
and looked at.
yes.
I will offer the evidence State's Exhibit 228.
We did have the same objections for all of these exhibits. If they're all, I'll let you, what I'm saying is if you have the same objections, you don't have to repeat it. I would just assume it's the same objection.
Well, I understand, Your Honor.
I very much like this judge. He is not dealing with the defense, but he is being very respectful. He hasn't, the only time he got a bit cross was on Friday when our current witness got a little sassy with the defense, which I would have allowed. But I do like he has a firm rein on his courtroom, and while he is respectful to the defense, he does not allow this ridiculousness.
The objection we have to this one is that this is, may we approach?
Yes.
And as I said, she did find a wonder bra. Now it's going to be more apparent when she cross-examines, but holy bobs, girlfriend. And look, we love a curvy girl who found her a jacket that makes her bobs look great. Could we have not looked like the buttress or the bust on the front of a pirate, ship when we're defending a human turd from capital punishment? Could we maybe, keep the girls a little under reins? But she does cut an impressive figure. I mean, those have to be H's. Okay, y'all saw that. I mean, them bobs were out. Also, don't wear a pink shell if you're gonna decide to wear boobalicious bra today. Turd human or human turd. Well,
I will tell you to draw off for Your Honor, State's Exhibit 228. Now, with regard to State's Exhibit number 2, started with 227, I'm going to jump back to 226. State's Exhibit 226, do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
And what is State's Exhibit 226?
This will be the FedEx polo shirt that I collected.
Okay. And was that also processed by you, put into evidence, and sent later to a lab?
Yes.
Your Honor, I will offer in evidence State's Exhibit 226.
Your Honor, that would be the same objections.
Okay, that you had for 227.
Correct, Your Honor, and I believe that will be for the next few items as well.
Okay, those objections are overruled. State's 226.
And then finally, I'm going to focus on State's Exhibit 229. Can you tell me what State's Exhibit 229 is?
Yes, sir. This is going to be the suspect's pants. It's going to be his blue jeans that were collected from the bag at the jail.
Okay. And these were what he was wearing at the time he was arrested, correct?
Yes.
I will offer State's Exhibit 229 in evidence.
Same objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
The overruled State's Exhibits 229 are admitted. And you may have running objections to all of these.
Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, I'll pass you.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Member, Your Honor?
And look, I have a pair of jubblies too, so I'm allowed to comment on them. If you are a dude and you need a jubblies pass, again, it's not appropriate for court. I think that her suit looks good. I'm actually impressed with both of the female attorneys in this court case. They have dressed extremely flattering for their body types, and I really don't have any criticism as far as fashion, like the slaughter of love seats for Kathy Nestor. But let's tone down. Look, I got it. I've got boobs too, but let's not do it in court, okay, ma'am? Shania Twain, I feel like a woman. Get that bra out. Death penalty case, let's keep the girls tamed. Helga and Olga should be strapped down. I should not see them jiggling like the Jello in Jurassic Park, okay?
Yeah, first witness, Your Honor.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to hand you what has been marked as defense exhibits number 36 through 43, and I'd ask you to take a look at those.
Morning, Counselor. How are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Oh, I love this witness. This witness is going to kill her with kindness while being cool. And she was like, she attempted to, blind him with boobulars. And he's like, ma'am, I done seen them before. Better ones. How you doing, though?
As a part of your investigation into the suicide attempt at Wise County Jail, you didn't just take pictures of the letters involved, right?
Yes.
You took pictures of the entire cell.
Correct.
And on defense exhibits number 36 through 43, are those true and accurate representations of the cell as you saw it that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, we offer states, I'm sorry, defense 35 through 43?
Okay, you said, hang on, you said 36 to start out, is
I
it
did.
35?
It is 35.
35 to 43, any objections?
Only to, I don't have the number, but the one that was taken at the hospital was not taken by this witness and was not, he doesn't, he can't.
That objection is overruled. Defense exhibits 35 to 43 are admitted.
Yeah, publisher, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I don't think so. I think he would like it. I think a meme of him versus a grasshopper would be bad. I think him versus Jiminy Cricket would probably be in poor taste, though something I thought about. If Jiminy Cricket were on the bad side of the law, that's what happened. So no, I don't think you would go to hell. But then again, you're talking to a person who did imagine him in a knockdown, drag out fight with Jiminy Cricket. And if I had the ability to make cartoons like South Park, I might have already uploaded it. So I don't know that I'm your litmus test for what will keep you in heaven. Oh, they're flirting? Are we witnessing a meet cute, a cute meet, whatever the hell the kids call it? Do they go home and have angry, relations. He's like, I like that bra, baby. And she's like, those sunglasses. Whew. I mean, in my head canon alone. Again, I don't know where the defense is going with this, if they feel like this is going to be something that's going to spark sympathy in the jury. I mean, they only need one. That's the problem, is the defense only needs one person to feel an ounce of sympathy for this person, and he doesn't get capital punishment. Now, I don't know that life in prison without parole, depending on if he would be segregated or not, would be any better. But after the audio, I just don't see.
May this witness be excused subject to any potential recall?
Ma'am, never use a demi cup if you are, if you are over E into Fs. Look, if we've gone past the basic ABCD scale, if you've gone into those double letters or the IJKs, I'm gonna need you not to wear a demi cup in court, okay?
Yes, sir.
No objections.
Thank you, sir. You're free to go. Thank you, sir. Who do you have next?
Dave Rogers, Judge.
Is this one of the witnesses I need to do something outside the
Yeah, Chair, we need a quick court hour on him, and then you have that.
And this is what I talked to you about. We are going to get into voir dire. So when I was telling you that I anticipate the medical examiner to probably be the next witness after this gentleman, they are having him come in because, of course, the defense would like to talk to the FBI agent who was one of the two gentlemen that went into the creek to actually retrieve her. So a heads up that this is the next witness we're getting into, but the defense, still being the defense, wanted to voir dire him prior to his testimony.
Good morning. Solemnly swear or affirm testimony in this cause is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the true self you got.
Yes, sir.
Have a seat. The rules and effects, so be sure to follow it, okay? Yes, sir. Mr. Barry?
Yeah, well, it's my witness, Your Honor, but I don't know what they have questions for.
How do you want
I know,
to?
you start, Your Honor.
Okay.
Well, the issue is going to be, I think he said he used to introduce states exhibits, what's the mark states exhibits 116 through 178.
Okay,
So,
and this is on your motion to eliminate.
yes.
Okay.
Well, I also would like to take him on board RFC that he actually paid for the photographic copies with him. I was able to argue their disability, and then after that, I'd like the court to afford a free process that evaluation, see whether they're more prejudicial or probative, whether they're cumulative, whether they tend to prove the impact of the moment.
It would shake hand me.
If you didn't quite catch that because baby Huey doesn't know how to find a mic, basically he would like to voir dire this particular agent because since he was part of a team that recovered Athena, there were obviously pieces of evidence or that were collected, or maybe I think he was the lead, but I think that people subordinate to him collected some of the evidence, and they would like to preclude that from coming in with this witness. Now, the judge has been pretty like meh and overruled. And I believe that he wouldn't be so meh overruled had this still been a guilt or innocence trial. But because the defendant has already pled guilty, a lot of these procedural things that might have been very important and relevant in a innocence or guilt trial are kind of meh at this point. The defense seems to have been very unable to change their strategies or their strategy and their defense with the changing nature of the trial. So they are still doing a guilt and innocence trial, whereas they should be doing a humanizing this turd. which I don't know if it really can be done. Even with the most competent attorneys, I don't know that you can humanize this person.
States Exhibits 160 through 176 and 178, and then Mr. Noble, while you're doing your questioning, I can look at the exhibits. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And just so that, we also are, areas indicated to the 143.1.
You need to see those.
No, Your Honor, I looked at them.
So do you anticipate that there would be any objections to 142 through 143, 143 through 152?
And the vote has 153.
Not for 143 to 149, I would have, move out 150 to 152, same question.
Let me see 150 through 152.
I don't know if he needs to see the ones I'm asking about.
If he needs to, I can hand it to him.
Which ones do you need? 150 and 150.
150 through 153.
153 is the physical phone, Judge.
I'm sorry?
153 is the physical phone.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. Okay, Mr. Goble.
Agent Rogers, I'm Steve Coble, I'm the attorney for Mr. Warner. I wanted to ask a couple of questions. I don't know if you're familiar. What's been pre-marked in State's Exhibit 150 is a photo of a phone in a wristband at 12 to 22. Are you familiar with that photograph?
Yes, sir.
And were you the one who took the photograph?
I was not the one, but I was present.
Okay, so who took the photograph?
It was a photographer for our team. He's a red line, I believe.
It's a red line. So why would you be the officer attached to the position?
As senior team leader, I'm the one who oversees the whole scene, so I will be present during all activities.
And I really do appreciate the state trying to bring only the team leads in. We've seen other trials where maybe they had to bring all of the disparate people in. But I do appreciate, again, on a hard case like this, that the state has made it easier for the jury. They've tried to decrease the witnesses that they would have to remember. And you don't always see this from the state. So I appreciate it when it's that extra care that the state put into this. And it really does show that they were thinking about the jury and what they would have to deal with. And I appreciate prosecutors who understand and appreciate kind of the weird world that the jury is being put in.
To include being the person who was on the chain of custody.
And how many team members were present that day?
Say again?
How many team members were present on December 2nd for the arrest day and search?
Approximately 9 people plus Weiss County Sheriff's technician. Amy.
Same question for split the pre-mark safe to 151, photo of the phone in airplane mode from the same base. Did you take that photograph?
No, sir, I did not take a
Who
photograph.
took that photograph?
It would have been Lisa Redline, the photographer.
And
I believe,
for,
I mean,
you
I believe without looking at a photo log,
I have the same question for Stacy Exhibit 152, who took the photograph, and it's just a different thing from the rest.
same thing, same person.
And did you oversee any of those photos being taken?
Yes, sir.
And what do you mean? Did you direct them to be taken, or were you just there? What was that?
Correct, I was there.
And what happens to the digital camera? How does it actually get processed? How do they make it?
It's, yeah, a photographer shoots it on a SD card and then creates the disc. Yeah.
If she didn't get that SD card to you,
No, sir. This stuff is handed over to the Weiss County Sheriff's for their evidence.
she takes the photo, takes the SD card out, and gave it to Deputy Amy.
Yes, sir.
What about what's been marked safe exhibit 153 phone? Did you want to see that?
The purple phone, the Samsung phone, or the Motorola phone with the purple case? Is that what we're talking about? I don't have the picture. Man, where's that?
Judge, did you hand it safe exhibit
150, okay.
Yes, sir.
Is that the phone we're talking about?
The one that was, yes. It was the one that was selected.
located that?
I was there, I mean, I saw it inside the FedEx truck, yes, sir.
Okay, and you weren't going to see it.
I wasn't the one who collected it, but I was there when we gave it to the evidence over to the Weiss County.
Okay, so who collected it?
It was Ashley Gruber and Alyssa Porter that collected.
And they gave it to Deputy.
So they put in an evidence collected log, logging it into it. At the end of it is either myself or the team leader that gives over the evidence to the Wise County.
So who is the team leader?
The team leader for that site was Tim Smiley, and I was a senior team leader.
What's the Mark State Exhibit 160 through 176 and 178? Were you the person who took those photographs?
I am not the person who took the photographs. It is our photographer who did.
Who was the photographer of that?
And again, all of this would have been really important to create a chain of custody had their defendant not already pled guilty. It's kind of standard procedure that they will try to get the team lead, especially on really big cases. Uvalde had the team leads in the various and sundry, agencies that they brought through. So this is not out. This isn't the state trying to be abnormally, shady about anything. This is something that's typically done in larger cases to relieve the burden on the jury. If they can have the team lead or someone who supervised the collection of all the evidence, they don't have to bring in the whole team. So while I get where the defense is going with this, and it would have made a bigger point on a guilt or innocence trial, they're wasting the jury's time. The jury already doesn't like you. This just seems like a very big misstep.
It would have been Thomas Ainsworth, assisted by Lisa Redmond.
What was your role on that?
I was a senior team leader, oversaw the planning and coordination of that recovery.
How many people were on your team?
Our full team showed up, but only 7 people took part in the actual recovery.
And when those photographs were taken, would that SD card have been given to Deputy?
All of the items would have been given to Detective, Amy.
State Exhibit 177 is a diagram. The diagram is that
Wasn't it 177?
177.
And Your Honor, I believe that we're actually entering that evidence out.
I was gonna say, I didn't see 177.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, 176.
And I do anticipate,
We're at the recovery. There's more of our team in the vicinity.
so I do anticipate that we might, like I said, with me, it is the stoic, very professional people who tend to break up just a little bit that get me. But seeing as this was one of the 2 gentlemen who actually went into the creek, who got little Athena out of the creek and then got her to where she could go home to her family, this might be more distressing testimony today. So do be mindful of that. And I will probably be giving reminders here and there during testimony. So it's not that I've forgotten or I'm experiencing a stroke. Just do be very mindful, because while the state has been incredibly restrained, it does make those moments where the true reality of this crime and what happened to this little girl that do shine through. So be kind to yourself, take breaks. This will be broken up probably tonight into various videos that will be coming out in the next week. So if you need to step away, take a longer puppy kitten break, the pause is there for you. You guys can go around, or if you need to skip through this witness entirely, that is a-okay. You guys take care of yourselves.
But that's the ones that took place in the recovery list. Total 7.
That's pretty confusing. What does that mean on in the vicinity?
So we came from processing the other FedEx truck and then our whole team goes out there, and then it was my choice of who was selected to go down to recover.
Okay, were you directing the photographer which photograph to take?
I don't direct her specifically, but she knows that she has a certain role, and I have to take the entry photos, evidence photos, and exit photos.
Okay, were you directing any of the people involved in evidence collection?
We had a plan before we went down to do the recovery, yes, sir.
So what does that mean? You had a plan, you identified what they're collecting?
So how we are going to approach down, who is going to be in the water, who is going to be on the shore, how the photographs were, would we be taking the photographs at, how the body was going to be manipulated to take those photographs, and then to package the body, put the body into a body bag, and then have it brought up to where it was released. So all of those was in plan.
Now, I will say it is maddening, having watched a lot of trials, that such care and attention was paid, and not maddening that it was paid, but the fact that it can be paid to every single case. And we don't always see investigators or detectives give this much thought and this much dignity to every victim of a crime. It is kind of upsetting that every case isn't treated with the care, the dignity, and respect that this one obviously was cared with.
Any questions, Ms. Dooley?
Just one. As for the body recovery, were you physically in the water with the patient?
Yes, I was.
You were there at the scene the entire time?
Correct.
Objections?
As to each item for objection to continue that is not established the chain of custody by himself, he was not directing the photographs to be taken, he was not identifying the item for these teams with the supervisor, which is a role, and then they turned the investigation part over to someone else. So I don't think any of them are admissible for those purposes. As to items 160 through 178, including 177, we continue our objection under 403 and due process if they're cumulative, they are not relevant at this point. According to their consideration that they do show a body that is unclothed, the photos may be considered gruesome, and particularly the photo of the body bag, I don't think it has anything to the actual phase of the shot.
Those objections are overruled, and if offered in the presence of the jury, the court will allow these exhibits to be admitted. You have a running objection, Mr. Goble.
Yeah.
So he is, like I said, Baby Huey, the defense attorney, is kind of hard to understand. So basically, his objections were that he was not, the agent on the stand was not the one physically taking the photos or gathering any of the evidence. So because he was the team lead and not the actual person taking that evidence, he would object to anything coming in through this witness as far as photographs or any loose evidence that was recovered. He also states that this is becoming cumulative and possibly prejudicial. Again, I don't know where cumulative begins on a case in which your client has done something so monstrous. It would be such a subjective line to what is actually documenting the case and what is too much and cumulative. Now, from what I've seen from the state in these 5 days, they haven't shown things over and over again. It wasn't like Uvalde where we had to, continually look at the pictures or bring in parents. So as far as I can see objectively, the state isn't being cumulative. They are not attempting to pull on the heartstrings of the jury any more than they have to. It's very clear the state would like to win this on evidence. And when you have a case where you have the facts on your side, we tend to get really good prosecutions. So it's just interesting. Again, the defense has yet to read a room. But I very much like that this judge takes his time. He hears the defense out and, blocking any of those potential appeal issues.
Let's go. All right, everyone may be seated. Ladies and Gentlemen, this witness has been previously sworn to testify truthfully. Ms. Jewell?
Thank you, Judge. Go ahead and state your name.
My name is David D. Rogers II.
And who are you employed by?
I am employed by the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
And how long have you worked for the FBI?
I've been with FBI over 20 years.
In your 20 years, what all roles have you had at the FBI?
Initially, I was an investigator for domestic terrorism and international terrorism, and I worked approximately 15 years as a weapons of mass destruction investigator, which is chem, bio, rad, nuke, explosive investigations. And then I took the role as a senior team leader for our evidence response team, our crime scene team, for approximately 4 years. And then I'm recently now a cyber agent for the criminal. And I have also been a part of our hazardous evidence response team since 2011. I've been a part of our evidence response team since 2018. And I guess in 2021, I took the role as a senior team leader who's over the entire team of 32 individuals plus alternates.
You talk real fast.
Oh,
Slow down.
I've just got nervous. What type of training and education did you have to have these roles?
So in order to be on the crime scene team or even the hazardous evidence response team, you have to have 40 hours of training in each discipline. So there's 2 weeks of training. And then in addition to those trainings, you have others. So I've had post-blast, which is explosive recovery training. I've had water vehicle post-blast training. I've had human remains recovery training that is approximately a week. I've also facilitated some of those trainings with our anthropologists that are in the Dallas area. I've also attended other trainings that dealt with body recovery stuff.
Were you asked to assist on the investigation in this case for Athena Strand?
Yes, I was.
And when were you first asked to assist?
I was, as senior team leader, I was asked by my supervisor to respond out to the abduction site and went there on that behalf with a small group of people to be in the area in order to make a determination how many people, where we needed people to go.
You mentioned that you were the senior team leader for this team. What is the senior team leader's role?
My role is to coordinate and plan all the operations on scene to include, and also training and making sure that people on our team are certified to go and handle crime scene teams or crime scenes.
On December 2nd of 2022, did you participate in a, I'm going to call the initial search of the arrest van?
Correct.
If I call the van, arrest van, do you know which van I'm talking about?
Yes.
And do you recall what license plate that van had?
I believe it was GCP 0468.
Sure, talk about the same thing. On this initial search, what did you and your team do?
Because the vehicle was brought to us, we knew that there was items in there that was what the investigators wanted. We were able to take a picture, or we were able to look into the vehicle and see that there was a cell phone and a bag that was visible in the vehicle. And therefore, we collected those 2 items.
Now, if you are new to this trial, there are 2 vans, so it is a bit confusing, but the state and the defense and the witnesses do a pretty good job of clearly defining it. But there is the van in which the abduction happened, and then there is a different van that looks somewhat similar, but it's not the same van. And that's the van that he was found, that Tanner Horner was found in 24 hours after, and he was arrested in. So there has been a little bit, on a jury form, do they ask you if you believe in the death penalty? I believe that is in voir dire, and I would imagine that this would be especially pertinent in this question, or in this trial. My guess is that it was one of maybe the first or second questions on the little jury survey that or questionnaire that you fill out. I was on jury duty last year, and it kind of sends you a get to know you worksheet where you kind of answer basic biographic information. But I would imagine for a big case like a capital case, that jury pool would probably get a very thick questionnaire asking them about a lot of different things about the death penalty and what they've heard about this case. So my guess is if they weren't asked on the questionnaire, they were definitely asked on voir dire.
2 items reflected were the backpack and a phone.
Yes, correct.
Or,
Yes.
show you what's been marked as States Exhibit 143 through 152. And do you recognize these items?
Yes, it is.
And what are you looking at?
This is the FedEx vehicle that, the individual was arrested in and had personal belongings in.
And were you there when those photos were taken?
Yes, it was.
And do all of those photos fairly and accurately depict the scene and the items that were in place that day?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, the state offers into evidence States Exhibit 143 through 152.
One 52 are admitted.
Judge. Your Honor, may I publish?
Yes.
Publish States Exhibit 143 on our screen. What am I looking at here?
You're looking at the FedEx vehicle that we processed, collected evidence.
Zoom in a little bit. Do you see that license plate number?
Yes, it did.
Can you give me that?
It's a Golf Charlie Papa 0468, so GCP 0468.
Is that the license plate with the US land?
Yes, it was.
Publish States Exhibit 148. What are we looking at here?
You're looking at the cab of the vehicle. In the picture, you can see the cell phone right in the middle console. We take the photos of the entry photos is how we see it when the door is open, so nothing is manipulated from our end.
Okay, as not a cigarette smoker, are Lucky Strikes considered like the great value brand, or are they? Because I've heard of Marlboros and I've heard of Virginia Slims and Pall Malls, but Lucky Strikes I thought were maybe it's look. I think I've only ever bought a pack of smokes once, and that was for a friend who. Look, I'm not saying that I might have made bank in college by taking my big old Jeep and letting everyone crowd inside to go over the state line for cheaper cigarettes. But legitimately, the only time I've ever bought cigarettes was for someone else. So I've just not heard of them being a big brand lately. But like I said, I'm not a connoisseur of the smoke sticks. I'm more the douche flute, because I vape. So, nicotine in all its forms are bad for you. Do not listen to me. Be better in health than me.
When we get in there.
Are we showing all the photos here today, or were there more photos than what I showed you?
Of that day?
Yes.
I believe this is all the photos. Yeah.
And show you what's marked, or been admitted as States Exhibit 149. What are we looking at here?
The cell phone still on the console with appears something on the screen.
Are all these photos taken before anybody has touched the items?
Is before our team touches the items, correct?
I believe you said before that this item was collected by the FBI team.
Yes, that's correct.
Your Honor, may I have a question?
Yes.
Showing you what has been marked as States Exhibit 153. And do you recognize this item?
This appears to be the item with the cell phone. Yes. Yes, this appears to be the item with the cell phone.
And how do you recognize it?
It has on here the description that was collected by the FBI from the FedEx vehicle,
And
and then released to Wise County, and then opened on March 14th, 2024, and then packaged in here.
And was your team who originally seized and collected that
Yes.
item?
Yes.
And what did you do with that item once it was collected?
Once we collected it, we provided a chain of custody to the Wise County's office.
And other than the addition of that package, has it been altered or tampered with in any way to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
Your Honor, the state auction evidence States Exhibit 153.
No additional.
Those previous objections are overruled and states 153 is admitted.
Thank you, Judge. Special Agent?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Special Agent Rogers, as soon as you guys were in the middle of or concluding that initial search of the arrest van, what did you do next?
We got a call that said that we requested assistance of our team by the Wise County Sheriff's Office and the Department of Public Safety, Texas Rangers.
Is that still on that same date of December 2nd of 2022?
Yes, it was the night of on December 2nd.
Where were you asked to go?
We were asked to go to a county road, 922 County Road. It was about 15, 20 minutes from that location, I believe.
Do you recall at what time of day or night it was?
We finished up around 7:30 from the Wise County office, and then departed to where the recovery was to occur.
Was it already dark out?
Yes, it was.
When you arrived on that scene, what did you see?
Coming down the road with a team in our supply vehicle, it was lined with first responders. As we approached, we were able to set up our vehicle on the bridge area, and then was able to and then deploy some. There were some lights out there, but we had some other lights that we utilized to brighten the area.
And you mentioned your team. Who all from your team was with you that one?
Collectively, it was all the people that were from the Wise County Sheriff's Office that came out there, and then we got on the bridge, and then we had to assemble a smaller team of 7 individuals.
A smaller team of 7 individuals to do what?
Obviously, it's a hard decision to make. We wanted to.
We are going to take a moxie break. They are getting into how they got this precious little girl back to her family. And even though they are being very professional, and I commend, this FBI agent for maintaining his composure, the reality of it still just sucks. The fact that there even had to be a meeting to discuss how to preserve evidence just breaks your heart. So I'm giving you guys a moxie break. It's about 2 minutes. Get yourself a drink, a bio break. We've been going for almost 2 hours. So just, take a deep breath and we will get through this together.
I take it down. Woo! Yeah. Oh yeah. I take it down a minute and a yeah. When the dark gets long and the tea is hot, and the motions filed are quite a lot. When the state says boom and defense says pass, that's when I call my mini ass so classy and sass. Woo! Oh, Moxie, the emotional support mini donkey, tiny but mighty, a courtroom honky tonky. If the trial goes sideways, she don't panic or balk, just a soft little hee-haw and a judgmental walk. Clip clop, trying through the mess. Ears perked high and out of rubble distress. When the facts get wild and the lawyers get snarky, I lean on my emotional supporters. If a witness says I can't recall, she side-eyes gently from the stall. If the sidebar lasts all afternoon, she hums a bray that's slightly off tune. She's pocket-sized but bold of heart, a fluffy illegal work of art. From board down woes to verdict day, she snacks on hay and leads the way. Oh, Moxie, queen of the pasture class, small but ruling the law to grass. When the timeline spirals and things get funky, there's peace in a steadfast mini donkey. Clip clop, courage, fluffy and spunky. All hail the emotional support as Moxie. Oh.
And I did want to give a shout out. Like I said, or like Baker always said, there's always the pie can always get bigger. And I am so glad to be covering this trial, the same trial that, Pretty Lies and Alibis is covering. And she seems to be covering it with the same, level of respect and dignity. And it's nice to have other creators that I can talk to, maybe about doing a panel in this case. And especially when I know that they have treated the case with the same kind of respect that we try to show Athena as well. Now, on that note, I have been in touch with the Godfather, and we are trying to find a piece of time on the weekend that we both have free where we can do a general talk about the death penalty. Now, I will kind of spoiler alert that I tend to agree with Gosney on many of his points. So it won't be an internet grudge match or anything like that. It's more going to be a talk about, first of all, the strategy in this case on how maybe not to run an incredibly difficult trial, but what steps would need to happen to make someone who is uncomfortable with the death penalty either comfortable with it, or what checks and balances would Gosney, recommend if basically, I am not this is not a stream where I'm going to be trying to change his mind or he's going to be trying to change mine. It's going to be very respectful. I think, Gosney is about a genius, and I find that I agree with his logic and reasoning on a lot of things. So, it's going to be more a friendly chat where we disagree on few points, but, uh, where we can discuss more in depth, maybe the concept of capital punishment and does it have a place in, current modern law? And then if so, what are the checks and balances that we need to have there? How do we assure that we are using this correctly? So I am working on that. Thank you for all of those of you who have encouraged me to get out of my comfort zone and reach out to other content creators. You might not know it, but that has always been way outside my comfort zone. So I am slowly getting more comfortable doing it. But thank you for those of you who have encouraged that. So I am working on it.
With the assistance of the team leader and our senior members, we kind of compiled some names that we thought could handle the scene. Obviously, this is going to be a traumatic scene, so we wanted to make sure that we had people that could handle it.
And there's that other level of care that they knew going in that this was going to be a tough scene, and they had people that were going to be okay as you can be with this, obviously. But I wish this level of care, dignity, and respect was extended to every case. And it really could be if people took the time and care to just do their job correctly.
It's very easy to just select people, but we know what's going to happen in the aftermath of it. So, this team is made up of people who go above and beyond, that put the mission first ahead of their own personal costs, and it is our opportunity to give those who have been silenced by tragedy a voice, and that voice is justice. And so we all...
Defense, I swear to giblets. Defense, I'm going to need you to shut your daggone mouth, because look, I get it was a little off, and yeah, does it come off a little political stump speech? Yes. But the fact that this man broke down for the family and the friends that have to sit there, that the people that found this little girl respected the dignity of her humanity. Yeah, I get that it was a long-winded answer and a bit self-serving. But as a parent or a friend of this child, or again, even a watcher, I am so glad that this level of care was taken. And the defense, again, do you want your client to get an express route to St. Peter? Because that is all you're doing right here by objecting.
Sustained.
We all go...
That's enough.
Okay.
No, that's enough. Next question.
Hey, Judge. As a senior team leader, is it your job, if you will, to pick who those 7 individuals are going to be?
Yes, it is.
Were you one of those 7 individuals?
I was one of the 7 individuals. Yes.
Was one of the 7 individuals somebody to take photos?
Yes.
And walk us through that process, that once you arrive on scene, we're doing first.
So once we are on scene, then we're organizing the team of who's going to do what. We have an individual who's a photographer. We have an individual who's a photo logger. We have then individuals that are going to go into the water to do recovery, into individuals that are going to assist with that, as well as processing the body once it's out.
And were you present during this entire time?
It was.
And regarding approach?
Yes.
Now, obviously, I do believe that the witness, now, again, the level of attention to detail, the fact that they have a solid colored paper over the photographs, so photographs of Athena in unclothed wouldn't be seen by the gallery. These little respect of the again, this attention to detail is so respectful, and I appreciate it. It's not always that we see the state go above and beyond and really think about these things, but you can tell that this was thought about, that the state didn't want pictures of that angel, to get out. And I don't know if it was on behalf of the judge or this is the way that the state was going to play this, but I very much appreciate this because I have seen trials where they're not as careful with the pictures, and I've had to, quickly put myself on the big screen. So I like that in all times, even in the smallest walk to the witness stand, dignity and respect were thought about, and you couldn't ask for a better team to be covering this, I think.
I am showing you what has been marked as States Exhibit 160 through 176 and 178. And do you recognize all of these photographs?
I do.
And you were present on scene during all of these?
Yes, it was.
And does this fairly and accurately depict the scene and the body recovery as you personally saw it that night?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state option to evidence States Exhibit 160 through 176 and 178.
Any objections other than those previously given to the court? Yes.
Now, for those of you that are just popping in, and Kelly, I'm not singling you out, but this is going to be one of the agents that recovered little Athena's body. So do be mindful of your mental health. Now, this court and the media feed has been very good at not showing any pictures or, showing us anything that we don't need to be seeing. But this is still going to be incredibly rough testimony. So puppy kitten breaks are there if we need them. I also have Mr. Pancake if we need a longer break. So just be mindful of your mental health. If you guys have to take a break or just need to watch something else, take care of yourselves. I would rather you be kind to yourself than get a view.
No additional objections,
No
Mr.
additional.
Chairman. Your objections previously given are overruled and States Exhibits 160 through 176 and 178 are admitted.
Thank you, Judge. College States Exhibit 160. Can you describe what we're looking at here?
So you're looking at that bridge, and then you're looking down off of it to the water, and that's concrete walkway.
And what's really been skillful about the state, anyone who has read a book or seen a great deal of television, or if you've watched Jaws, let's narrow it down to a focal pop culture point. You barely see Jaws in that movie, but he's terrifying. Now that was mainly due to puppet, animatronic issues and hellacious stuff back behind the scenes. But what you don't see tends to be much more poignant. And what really strikes me is just the loneliness of this area, the the abandoned feeling that it has. And that's heartbreaking. And it's very it's very mature and restrained of the state to let little things like these hit you without them needing to be graphic. I often find it's more heartbreaking, when things are subtle, when it's left to you to interpret. And I appreciate them showing this because, and again, my heart goes out to the man on the witness stand who brought her home and everyone who worked to bring this little girl home. I'm sure they carry this case every night, in their nightmares. And I hope that one day the weight that they carry from this case lessens and they can hold on to the fact that they brought this little girl home.
And then on the other side of that block is where the remains were recovered.
Using my mind a little bit too. What are we seeing kind of more in the distance where those vehicles from the car?
Okay, so you're seeing what I talked about coming up that path where the first responders, then off, there's a post there, it's hard to see, but off to the right is a kind of a barrier where cars can park there. It's kind of a gravel area. There's a little path on either side of that little barrier there where we end up walking down to the site.
When you say there's like a little path, can you describe the path?
Just a beaten path where people have walked before.
I'm going to show you what's in Martin States Exhibit 169. What are we looking at here?
You're looking at a different angle, but closer to the right side of where that concrete block was, and just looking down towards the water. Where that concrete is, you can go down right, the left side of it or the right side of it.
When you say go down, is it a smooth path or rocky? Can you describe that?
It was very slick. It was kind of cobbled, a lot of dirt and rocks that were.
And that concrete block, how high is that?
Roughly maybe 4 to 5 feet or so. Can't really remember how tall it was.
Were you one of the individuals that physically got into the water?
Yes, it was.
And can you describe to us your process for getting into the water and to like getting down those paths with your team and who was there?
Okay. So prior to going down, I gave team assignments for what people were going to do. We were going to wear Tyvek suits and then gloves as personal protective equipment to go into the water. Myself and Tim Smiley went into the water to recover Athena, and then we had 2 individuals that were on the shore. There was a rope because of how the edge of the water was. It was very rocky. It was very unstable, kind of being able to get your footing. It was obviously you're in the water, can't see anything because I think the depth of visibility was only a few inches down, maybe that you could see stuff, maybe 5 or 6 inches. So we had someone that was on the shore with a rope, also in personal protective equipment to help us because we knew that they were going to assist us as we were making our way out of the water, and then to kind of carry her out of the water and then put her on a flattened area that had another body bag laid down so so she wasn't really resting on the dirt.
What's been admitted as 172? What are we looking at here?
Oh, okay.
Kind of towards the middle of the screen, and then a little bit in the middle, very middle, you could see was a hand that was barely visible out of under the water, and then you could obviously. From our perspective, because we were in the water, you could only see the hand barely visible.
Sorry, you guys. It is really visible. So if you guys look, it will be on Court TV. But just It's visible, y'all.
You couldn't see the very outline, but obviously photographs give you that advantage. But we could see just her hand that was kind of underwater.
And is this how you and your team found Athena before you entered the water?
Correct.
So once she in the water right here, what did your team then do to recover?
So Tim and I, Agent Tim Smiley and I went into the water. I was going to go, I took one side of her body, he took the other side and grabbed her arm and her leg. And we both were trying to work our way out of the water to where we got to the other two individuals that were standing there to assist us as we came out of the water.
Counsel,
Yes.
I really wish they wouldn't do this. God, I wish they wouldn't do this. Let these people have their grief on their own. I dislike to the bottom depths of my soul when court TV focuses on victims during really rough testimony. I am a firm believer that people should be allowed to have their grief and their peace. And JKD Buck is right. Again, do be mindful of yourself. We are going to be getting into pretty rough testimony. And while they are being as professional as they can be, this is still going to be really hard. So take breaks. If you can't do today, that's fine. I will fill you in and try to be as you know how I am. I will try to fill you in as gently as I can on what we learned today. So if today isn't going to be your day, that is a-okay. I would rather you be okay in your mental health than of you. So pace yourself, you guys. We got this. But again, pause. You are the only one that knows how you're doing. So listen to you.
At this point, I think you were stating that you and another individual were in the water and y'all were, I think, were you getting off, or what would you do next to get her on the net?
So we, all four people were assisting her body over to the ledge that we were going to place her on so we could take the photographs and then collect the forensic or maintain the forensic, preserve the forensic evidence that could have been available or on the body. So, like I said, there was a rope that helped guide us because it was rocky, the footing was unsure, and we were able to kind of move her up into a flattened area where our photographers were.
And I'll show you 173. What are we looking at here?
This is the as we came out, I would say it was probably about mid-chest level where that landing was, and that's where we put Athena's body onto the body bag.
How deep was the water?
It was roughly, it was up to about kind of our waist. I remember right around our waist, and it was about 5 feet from the edge into the water.
Placed her on this. This was a body bag, you said?
Correct. It was.
And what did y'all do at this point?
At this point, as we later up there, our photographers started taking the photographs of the body. As they took the photographs, then we put bags and taped them around her hands. And then after those were photographed, we then rotated her body over to the backside where more photographs were taken, and then eventually rotated back to where she was face up.
Not going to publish on the screen, but I'd like you to look at what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 174. And I'd like for you to just describe for the jury kind of what we're looking at and what you're doing.
The images of Athena laying on a body bag. She is upright, her face up. The time, you want me to go into what I recall in that moment? As we looked at her where we placed her on this bag, I remember her being really cold to the touch, firm, and then with the lights and everything that was on the bridge hitting down, her skin appeared to be glistening, almost kind of angel-like, is what I recall it.
Again, I get why the defense however ill-conceived and ridiculous their objection is going to be, let the man describe the little girl as however he wants to. Again, what do you gain? Even if it is editorializing, even if it is going into flowery language and rhetoric, what are you doing for your client by objecting to this particular witness calling the victim in this case an angel? Because I understand strategically why you would object, but strategically, why would you object?
And then I recall bubbles escaping right where her mouth is. She was blowing bubbles. And as that moment where you kind of see it, then also the reality of it sits in of the trauma that was very apparent on her body. Yes.
Okay, again, court TV, could you try not to be giant assholes your entire life? Let this woman with the beautiful pink hair cry without all of us seeing it. Look, I am not one like semi tearing up in front of you guys is mortifying to me. When I am really deeply emotional about something, I don't want to be recorded, and I hate that court TV does this. Ma'am, you have had the most awesome fire pink hair, and I am not a hugger. I would probably ended up patting your hair, which is my tism, but I wish I could comfort you right now in this moment, is what I mean to say. I wish I could give you a hug because your pain doesn't deserve to be broadcast to the rest of us.
I was just on the Twitter.
Yes.
Again, the attention to detail, the judge thought about this, the state thought about this, and now they are individually handing out these photographs as to not have to put them up on the big screen. Again, this level of care and dignity that was shown to the victim, I cannot appreciate the state or the judge enough for the care that they've taken with this case, because this is not an easy one for me to cover as well. And I've just been very, very appreciative on the small attention to detail and making sure that nothing gets out to those of us who don't need it. Also, look at the judge very carefully watching the jury. This is the right judge for this case.
Special Waters. At this point, what did you guys do to finalize getting Athena to the body bag?
So once all the pictures were taken and her hands were bagged, we then placed her in a body bag, which prior to that was, there was a determination that the body was deceased by the Justice of the Peace. And then we zipped up and then put our identification tags on it and then brought it up to the funeral home that was going to take the body and then had to go to the medical examiner's office.
Who brought her body up to the
It was our team that brought her up.
Court TV.
Cross-examination.
Oh my God. Defense, how about you just shut your cock holsters and let this witness go? I know that's not going to happen, but we are going to take a slight detour before I lose my ish and probably get demonetized on this to remind ourselves of well, another crime, another shenanigans laden thing, but a much funnier thing. We just need a little breather before we deal with the defense. So uh, let's skip over to this for just a couple of minutes to give ourselves a breather, just a little breather, because I know I need one before we deal with the defense. But y'all, let's have a moment, a gerbil pancake moment to clear our mind.
Don't move. Get on your belly, Mr. Pancake. Get on your belly. In the name of the law, Pancake, get on your belly. Where are the gerbils? Where are they?
Mr. Pancake, where are the gerbils? Now, why we haven't seen this go to trial, I don't know. Old Squishy Gardener, if you happen to ever come across the Mr. Pancake trial, please let me know.
Gerbils. Please don't tell me you put a gerbil somewhere else.
Oh, God, there is a gerbil. There's multiple gerbils in his pants.
For your safety, is there a gerbil inside you?
In the early
I mean, things you never thought you would have to say in your adult life, but apparently, sometimes you do have to ask people if they have a gerbil inside them. Now, enough degeneracy. Back to a little bit more wholesome entertainment. Look at the chicks. They're baby owls. We need baby owls. Oh, and they're all snuggly. Now I need an owl, but it probably wouldn't let me hold it and like play with its fluffy little stuffy fluff. And yes, that was the gentleman that broke into the pet store. I figured today we would watch Mr. Pancake in installments because I figured we needed to bring out the big heavy duty laughs today when I kind of saw where we were probably heading with the medical examiner. True. They're just so fluffy. All right, back to our homework, but I do have Mr. Pancake and Owl Cam on tap. So, in addition to Moxie and Puppy Kitten breaks, if we need to do another, Mr. Pancake installment in between this to get through this testimony, which is going to be god awful, let me know. We have those on tap. I did think ahead and plan ahead. Ooh. But just to let you guys know, we do have those if we need a longer break, and I think we might after this witness. So, and none of our palate cleansers are meant as disrespect to Athena or the family or friends, but we are trying to survive this trial. We have dark humor. It's called the Petty Express. And I did say Mo after darkish. So,
Agent Rogers, you were not the person who took those photographs,
No, this, no, sir.
and all the photographs and any evidence likely returned over to Deputy Gaming.
Yes, the Wise County, yes.
That's good.
Redirect.
not sure.
May this witness be excused subject to any potential recall?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Stringer Bell, I will forewarn you that the first little bit is maddening of today. We do have the team lead or senior CSI for Wise County come in at the beginning of the day, and we do go over infuriating attempted self-deletion letters from Mr. Horner. And then we unfortunately go into this is the agent or one of the agents from the FBI who retrieved Athena from the water. That being said, we are probably looking at after this witness getting into the medical examiner. So yes and no. I do think that the CSI was interesting but maddening. So if that interests you, I would go back. but I did want to let you know that if you're kind of going to stay with us from here, we are entering some really rough testimony. And while the state and the judge have been extremely respectful and treated this with dignity, it's still incredibly difficult testimony.
Let us take our morning break, okay? I'll call you back in just a few minutes.
Again, this judge has been incredibly lovely. He has been so protective, and I do love again, there's a lot of talk about toxic masculinity. This judge is showing positive masculinity, the masculine energy that protects those around us, that wants to provide a stable and nurturing environment that, will give dignity. This is a wonderful example of good masculine energy, and I have been so incredibly impressed with this judge. There's a lot of talk about toxic masculinity, but there's never talk about positive masculinity that protects, that preserves, and it's really been on display here.
I'm out on lunch.
I don't tend to get into we're good, but I just had a little bit of the internet being weirdo. So I can see that it was lagging a bit on my end. I can't always tell but I know when I get kicked out of it. Uh, that being said, I don't tend to pay attention to the family members in cases, so I don't know if this might be the biological mother of Athena. Um, but again, I wish they wouldn't focus on family and friends who are obviously emotional and distraught over testimony. It feels very invasive to me. I don't like to, be in public when I cry, so I always feel um disconcerted when I have to witness someone else's deep grief, and it's hard for me to it's hard for me to justify the court TV continuing to show this. I don't like it. I will have to check the cable for the cats because they're butt monkeys.
Members court. Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, this witness has been previously sworn to testify truthfully. Mr. Barry, you may proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Dwyer, welcome.
Morning.
Okay, so again, you guys do be very mindful that we have Mr. Pancake on tap. We have the owl vision. I do believe we are getting into medical examiner, and we might stop here for the day. Uh, we'll see how it goes. I basically have another stream starting. I do have to pick up the feral boys, but this might be one of those days where after this testimony, we let it breathe. We are not, we are going on our own pace on the Petty Express. And as much as I tell you guys to be mindful of your mental health, depending on how this testimony goes, we might wait to catch up on the rest of the day tomorrow. Like I said, we're not on a schedule. We are already off on a day. My type A isn't liking that, but we might stop here. We might not. It'll just depend. So I will try to let you know. But it definitely is going to be difficult. So pause yourself if you need to, take breaks, and just be very kind to yourself. Let me get her banner ready. I wish that I could pull off a very peroxided pixie cut like she does, but I would not be able to.
Would you please introduce yourself to the jury and tell them what you do for a living?
Good morning. My name is Dr. Jessica Dwyer. That's D as in dog, W-Y-E-R. I'm the Chief Medical Examiner and Director of the Crime Lab for the Southwestern Institute of Forensic Sciences in Dallas County.
And can you tell me, as a medical examiner, what is sort of your job description?
So a medical examiner is the same thing as a forensic pathologist. Pathology is an area of medicine that's focused on the study of disease. Forensic pathology is even more specific.
Did anyone have Annie Lennox from early Eurythmics being the medical examiner? And excuse me, but my brain is trying to find anything but focusing on the reality of why this woman is here. I must say she pulls off the Annie Hall look very well. It is a severe look, though, but I think in an authoritative position like this, it's okay to have a bit of a Madonna-esque look.
Focuses on the study of death.
I take that back. Tank Girl. If anyone watched the Fever Dream movie that was Tank Girl, that's who she looks like.
So that's basically what I do.
And can you tell us what kind of background, training, experience you've had to qualify you for the job that you currently hold?
Sure. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Animal Science from Texas A&M University in College Station, Texas. Following that, I obtained a medical degree from the University of Texas Health Science Center of San Antonio, which is in San Antonio, Texas. Following that, I completed a combined anatomic and clinical pathology residency with the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then following that, I did a year of specialized training in forensic pathology that's called a fellowship. And that was with the Office of the Medical Examiner of Allegheny County, which is also in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And then along the way, there are 3 licensing exams that you have to take in order to practice medicine in the United States. Passed all of those on the first attempt. And I also have 3 board certifications in anatomic, clinical, and forensic pathology, all of which I passed on the first attempt.
And since you have become a medical examiner at the Southwest Institute of Forensic Sciences, have you, I guess, been given other duties than just the level of medical examiner?
Yes, sir. As the Director and Chief Medical Examiner, I have a lot of administrative duties as well, but I do still perform autopsies every day.
Or do you have supervisory duties over the others?
Yes.
And with regard to an autopsy that was performed on the date of, I believe it was December 3rd of 2022, approximately 7:30 a.m. on an individual by the name of Athena Strand. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And so I just stated the date it was on, but how was it that you first became aware of this case? And was it different? Were you just on duty that day, or did you specifically go to perform the autopsy on this particular day?
I was scheduled for work that day, so whatever cases are reported to the office that we ultimately bring in for an examination are your task for the day. So in this case was reported from the Justice of the Peace in Wise County, and they requested us to perform the autopsy, and that was my assignment for the day.
And according to your understanding, what was that day in relation to the day where her body was located?
So I believe the body, because this was a Saturday morning, I do remember it was on a Saturday. I believe her body was discovered Friday evening, and the case was reported to us somewhere in the late evening, early morning on Saturday, December 3rd.
And is that common or unusual as far as an autopsy being performed so quickly? How does it normally take place?
No, for cases that are reported to our office and brought in for an examination, we try to maintain a 24-hour turnaround time. So this is not unique.
Okay, you talk real fast.
I'll try. I know.
It's your report, not that one.
Yes, sir.
I love it. She's a little too northern for this Texas. Look, she speaks northern. That's just it's a cadence thing. I think she's being, pretty clinical. To be fair, I'm more jealous that she can wear a white shirt with a white tie and it's still white. I mean, that would have salsa on it from the moment I got it. That being said, I find these little moments of levity to be something I really kind of those little points of light in a dark night. So I don't mind so much where people just has to. No, I think these things a lot, but I tend not to actually verbalize on them unless you have chosen to be in front of the public in a public facing, career. And then I do comment on it because I kind of wonder what, you're trying to send or what message you're trying to send. That being said, I usually don't pick on people unless they annoy me, and you're good people, so.
With regard to the autopsy on Athena Strand, can you kind of just walk us through just the basic process of what happens from the time?
I really want you to look at this, though, again, because I think this is very professional. And it's not disrespectful. There's that moment of levity, and then watch her face as we get back into business. She does become professional.
With regard to the autopsy on Athena Strand, can you kind of just walk us through just the basic process of what happens from the time that a body is delivered to the medical examiner's office until the point that you encounter it?
So the process of an autopsy?
Well, the process of getting it to you.
Okay.
Yes.
So in this instance, the body is actually brought to our facility, specifically the morgue area. We do scan the body in. The body bag is sealed with a plastic tag that we keep closed until the time of the examination. But as the body is scanned into the building, it doesn't mean that we are automatically starting the autopsy at that point. So we have a cooler that they stay in until the autopsy is performed. And then not the process of the autopsy, just the intake part, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So once
And on a very observational note, a lot of her dress up might be armor for her. I know that if I'm going to be tackling something or I don't really want to go out for the day, I will put on a wig and pretend to be someone else. So a lot of this might be armor for her to feel confident enough to do a good job for Athena. So that's another perspective that, occurred to me because, a lot of times we do feel better about ourselves, more confident when we take time to, make our appearance good. Maybe she needed that little bit of confidence, that little bit of red lipstick, kick-assness to cover this because she had to deal with this little girl that should be running around and, enjoying Christmas. She had to be the, one of the collectors of evidence to make sure that a monster didn't go free. So it could be a bit of armor. I know if I were going to testify, I'd probably take a lot of time just as one of those armor things.
we're ready to begin the process of the autopsy, let me ask you this first of all. What's the purpose of the cooler?
So it is kept at a cold temperature to just preserve the condition of the body.
And is that slow the rate of something?
Decomposition, slows the rate of decomposition, yes.
And are there some documents that you usually have to have in order to do an autopsy?
There are some documents that we typically have before the autopsy, yes.
And can you kind of describe what that is?
So our building is a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week operation, but I am not physically in the building 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Who answers the phone for our facility are our forensic investigators. So anytime a death is reported to our facility, it's the death investigator that is taking that information, determining if this case needs to actually be brought in for an examination, et cetera. So they will draft a report of all the things that were reported to them by whoever is reporting the death. So it's called an investigator narrative. So that's given to the medical examiner prior to the case, so we have an idea as to what's the circumstances of the death and kind of helps us triage our cases for the day.
So you had some understanding of what was the circumstances before you did the autopsy?
Yes, sir.
Do you also have to be given some official authorization from somebody in the county that it comes
No, it's an old Daria shirt that I've had for a while, and I just felt like wearing something comfy today.
from in order for you to do an autopsy?
So because I'm an employee of Dallas County is my jurisdiction. However, when another county is requesting our office to do an autopsy, they have to provide an authorization form stating we're requesting Dallas County to perform this autopsy, correct?
Now, as you are conducting an autopsy, do you take notes, fill out diagrams, things like that, to record your findings so that later you can put them in your autopsy?
Yes, sir.
And can you describe what that's called?
And thank you for gifting a membership, Squaw Bob. And that went to Craft Granny. So welcome to the Church of Mo. We have dark chocolate, sarcasm, and all the stuff you need to get through these trials. So thanks for joining us and welcome. You get access now to me reading our book club book. And you know, my throat feels better today, so I'll probably try to get some chapters in. But thank you so much and welcome to the church.
Colloquially refer to them as our bench notes. Essentially, it's all the notes from the case that I'm going to then take to my desk after I'm done with the case so I can officially memorialize it in a more organized, neat fashion into an autopsy report.
Now, before an autopsy report comes out, is there another short form report that is often issued by the medical examiners before the final autopsy report?
So we do have a cause of death report that you can request through our office, and what it is it's on official letterhead, and it just provides the cause and manner of death for the decedent with the signature of the pathologist performing that examination.
And then, of course, the final document would be your examination report. And what is that called?
You're talking about the finalized autopsy report?
Yes.
Yes, that's the neat version. It also incorporates any findings from toxicology or some ancillary testing that we may or may not request, but that is the comprehensive finalized report.
May I approach you?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Dwyer, I'm going to show you 4 different documents. State's Exhibit number 271, you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
And what is State's Exhibit number 271?
This is the autopsy authorization form for decedent Athena Strand that's signed by Judge Jan Morrow, who is the Justice of the Peace for Precinct 1 in Wise County, Texas.
And State's Exhibit number 272, you may have to look through that and see if you recognize all the pages.
Yes, sir.
And what is State's Exhibit number 272?
This is a copy of my bench notes.
Okay. And chronologically, that would come during the autopsy itself,
Correct, yes.
All right. Now, following the autopsy, the short form report, State's Exhibit 273?
Yes, this is the cause of death report, signed by me.
All right. And then finally, State's Exhibit number 274.
Yes, sir, this is a copy of the finalized autopsy report.
Thank you. Do the documents, both of the bench notes, the cause of death report, and the autopsy itself, do those document your findings during the autopsy of Athena Strand on December 3rd, 2022?
Yes, sir.
I will offer into evidence State's Exhibit 271, 272, 273, and 274.
State's Exhibits 271 through 274 were admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I publish?
Yes.
We'll start with State's Exhibit number 274. I'm going to leave all this up here because it shows us what the page number is as we're looking at it on your autopsy. So as we look at State's Exhibit 274, it's titled, what is it titled?
Autopsy report?
Okay. Do you see on there the date and approximate time that the body was found?
Yes, sir.
And what is that for purposes of the record?
So date of death is based on when she was found, which was December 2nd, 2022 at 8:45 p.m.
And then what is the date and time that the autopsy itself was performed according to this document?
Where it says examination performed December 3rd, 2022 at 7:30 a.m.
Now, with regard to the
Hey, before we go forward, Post-Punk Mama, we are on the medical examiner testimony. I am not encouraging you to leave or stay. I just wanted you to be aware that we're getting into some rough testimony. So didn't want you to come in and kind of go, oh, holy cow, I don't know if I can deal with this today. So do be aware of that. And we'd love to have you here, but I don't want you to stay if knowing what we're going into. If, that's going to be too much. Sorry. I love that I start a statement and then finish it in my head.
autopsy itself, before the autopsy begins, is there an evidence collection? You can turn that off for a second. Is there an evidence collection process that takes place?
Yes,
And can you describe that for the jury, please?
depending on the type of or suspicion of death, we may collect trace evidence at the autopsy. In the event that there's a firearm potentially used in the decedent's death, we would test for gunpowder residue, or we may collect hair, we may collect fingernails, or a blood sample to ultimately be dried on a blood card. Those are some examples of trace evidence we collect.
And was that done in this particular case?
Yes, sir.
And of those things that were collected, can you describe them, what was collected in this particular case?
Yes. So we did collect a blood card, so it has 4 spots of dried blood on it. That's to preserve her DNA. We have a sample of her scalp hair, which we also use for DNA. When her body was actually received with her hands covered with brown paper bags, we will keep those brown paper bags. I did perform gunshot residue testing on her hands just because I didn't know what kind of death we were potentially dealing with when I did the case. And then also collected fingernail clippings from both of her hands, her right and left hand. And then we
She caught herself. She is being incredibly good at this. You can tell that this is rough on her, but I appreciate the professionalism and competence that she's brought into this.
also collected a sexual activity kit.
And the sexual activity kit, can you describe what that is?
So exactly that. It is evidence that may be related to sexual activity. So it's typically swabs and pubic hair collection. So for a man, it would be swabs from the penis and penile urethra, in addition to the anus and the oral cavity or the mouth. For a female, it would be oral cavity, vagina, both the outside and the inside, and also the anus.
And with regard to those things, once they're collected, what happens to them?
They're packaged in a kit, and they ultimately get transferred to our evidence registration. Since this is an out-of-county case, it doesn't automatically go to our crime lab. The county would then have to request testing or analysis of that kit from our crime lab, or they may send it elsewhere, but it gets sent to our evidence registration.
And, yeah, hold on for a second. I need to ask a question. May I approach her?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you what has been marked for identification purposes as 260, states 269, and states 270. Does it appear to have the evidence tape from the Dallas County Medical Examiner?
Yes, with my initials.
And can you describe, first of all, what would be in states exhibit number 269?
So a lot of this writing in yellow tape is not mine, but what I can tell you is that this is typically how I package evidence from a homicide or potential homicide. And there is a sticker itemizing this particular item that correlates to the number for this decedent. And then we will seal the top of the bag with tape and red evidence tape, which I initial. But the yellow tape and everything else, I don't know who did that.
And what would the contents be? I'm sorry.
Everything that I just listed that I collected would be in there with the exception of the sexual activity kit.
And then states exhibit number 270?
Yes, sir. This is the sexual activity kit.
Okay. And these both relate to the body of Athena Strand and the autopsy done on December 3rd, 2022?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. I will offer State's Exhibit number 269 and 270 into evidence.
Objection.
State's Exhibits 269 and 270 are admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Dwyer, during this process of conducting an autopsy, is there someone there, either yourself or someone at your immediate direction, that takes photographs of this process?
No, I take the photographs.
Okay. And what is the purpose of taking the photographs?
So we take photographs on every postmortem examination or autopsy. There's standard photographs we do for every case, and then in some cases they may require additional photographs, essentially documenting with photographic evidence any of your findings.
And do the photographs that you have, are they given specific monikers as far as the name of the photograph itself that are unique, at least within that case, so that there's no mix-up, two things have the same name?
So any decedent that is examined in our office is given what we call a unique identifying number. It always starts with IFS and the year that the autopsy is performed. And so all of the photographs pertaining to this decedent will be labeled with that IFS number.
And approximately, if you know, how many photographs were taken in this case? Yeah.
I don't know the exact number.
Prior to court, though, I think I showed you approximately 38 of the total number of photographs that were taken by you during this autopsy.
Yes, sir.
And do you have an opinion as to whether it would aid the jury in understanding your testimony to maybe not here in court today, but at some point have an opportunity to view those photographs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
And again, I don't know if this is a function of maybe the judge saying, hey, they just listened to the audio on Friday, let's give them a couple days, or if the decision has been made to leave the more incredibly heavy evidence to Fridays. But I do like that the judge is using discretion and, pacing themselves as far as what the jurors have to see. The report is going to be horrible enough. And they do have access to the photos. They will be able to take them with them to the deliberation room should they ask for them. But I very much like the care that's been taken to keep these photos from getting, on the internet or anywhere.
Dr. Dwyer, the reason we're doing it this way is to avoid unintentionally displaying photographs that we do not at this time intend to display.
Okay.
So each of the photographs that I'm going to ask you about has been covered with a slip cover, so that if I ask you about it, you're going to have to slide the slip cover or the photograph up, but just if you be careful not to display it unintentionally.
Sure.
All right, thank you. At this point, I'm going to ask you to look at these. Have you seen?
Again, the level of detail has been impressive. The fact that they had, protectors over this, they really have thought of every possibility in which these photos that no one should have to see, stay out of the public eye. And I am so here for it. I am so here for the extra attention to detail.
Prior to court today, what I would call a contact sheet that has the different state's exhibit numbers that go with the different photographs in this case.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm going to show you that. I'm not offering it into evidence, but would aid in your going through these to be able to see that.
Thank you.
Mr. Berry, let's mark that and we'll admit it as a record purpose.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, we spoke about that before we came back, and that's okay.
Okay.
If you guys have to check it all.
Okay.
And that would be, I believe, 286 for purposes of the record.
Again, just the going ahead to make a little thumbnail page so she doesn't have to flip through that book. And again, have the possibility of an inadvertent photograph getting out. I just very much love all the attention to detail, all of the care and dignity that was given to this case. And it appears that this care and dignity is given to every case in this judge's courtroom. He has been a really good judge for this case.
Thank you. I put it here on the top right corner. The court reporter wants me to put it on the bottom right, but I didn't want to cover anything up. So if you would use this during your testimony.
You offer 286 for the record.
Yes, sir.
Any objections?
No, Your Honor, as long as it's not going to be used in the wrong.
Okay, 286 is admitted for purposes of the record.
Regarding the autopsy of Athena Strand, can you tell us how did she come to the medical examiner's office and what state?
So are you talking about when we actually are you asking for my observation when we initially opened the body bag and my initial view of the body?
Well, I mean, let's talk about the body bag first of all.
Okay.
What is the body bag?
So decedents are typically transferred to and from our facility within a plastic pouch that is a body bag, just so you can maintain privacy and they can be transferred in and out of the facility discreetly and preserve evidence.
And if there's any additional debris, fibers, other things that have come off of the body, is it also to help preserve those things?
Yes.
Okay. And do you go about the process of, is there some type of procedure that is done even before the body is removed from the body bag?
Yes. So let me also backtrack. We work with, when I do an autopsy, I work with an autopsy technician and we work side by side. So they are ultimately the ones that will go and retrieve the body from our cooler. In addition, before the autopsy, they can do a postmortem x-ray, which is just like what you're familiar with from a hospital. And we're just looking for any potential foreign material that we would want to collect and the evidentiary items. And then the body is brought to the autopsy station. And then we break the seal, open the body bag, and I will document the condition of the body with photographs. We typically refer to those as is photographs because it's before we do anything to the body.
And were those things done in this particular case?
Yes, sir.
And what, can you tell us whether or not there were any foreign objects that that were identified as part of the x-ray?
No.
Okay. Now, with regard to the body itself, you said that you took some as-is photographs. And I would ask you to refer in your book there to, if you need to remove those from that book to be more discreet, however you need to do it.
Okay, thank you.
But State's Exhibit number 231 and 232, could you personally look at those and tell me if those are the as-is photographs that you were talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we're going to go through this process in a way where, rather than displaying them, I'm going to just ask you to describe what you're seeing for purposes of the record. That way, if there's any question about it later, they can refer back to your testimony.
Okay.
So,
Again, these choices, the state could have ripped the jury's souls out. This would have been an easy case to use all of the levers of emotion and just the wrongness of what happened to Athena to win the case. Hands down, I don't think there would have been any, any critique of them doing that. But I appreciate that, again, the medical examiner and everyone has taken such great care with not only Athena, but the family and friends who are in the gallery.
with regard to State's Exhibit number 231 and 232, the as-is photographs, would you please describe what you're looking at in those photographs?
So there are two of them because one is the upper half of her body, including her head and face, and then the second one is the lower half of her body, including her legs and feet. And so basically how I received her is that she is naked, there's no clothing, and both of her hands are covered with brown paper bags, as I referred to previously, that are actually secured around her wrists with tape. And then her body was covered with kind of a brownish dirt silt appearance, and there was also fragments of vegetation within the body bag and within her scalp hair.
And just for understanding for the jury, when you take the photograph, is there anything that is covered up on the body as you are taking the photograph?
No.
Okay. Those documents, though, State's Exhibit number 231 and 232, have certain portions of that photograph been covered just for discretion's sake.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, let's go ahead. We're going to look at your autopsy report. And I think we can do this without the light off. The first thing to do is the external examination. Is that right?
Correct.
And can you just kind of describe in general terms what is involved in the external examination?
So the external examination is also standard process for any postmortem examination. And I always describe it as I start on one side of the body, say a foot, work my way up the entire side of that body to the head and then to the opposite side of the body. And what I'm looking for is evidence of natural disease, evidence of trauma, any potentially identifying features like hair color, eye color, tattoos, scars, etc. Lots of different things. And once I'm done kind of looking at, and then lastly, we will roll the body so that I can see the back of the body. And then once that's complete, that's the end of the external examination.
I also very much like how she's humanizing. She's one of the better medical examiners, very much more personable. And this might just be her personality, but I very much like how she's explaining this to the jury. She's using layman's terms. She talks with her hands, which I'm a fan of. But I like that she's facing the jury. I like the way this is being presented.
And as part of this external examination, do you photograph the body both before and after it is, I guess for lack of a better word, clean?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe, once the as-is photographs are taken, what happens next?
So once the as-is photographs are taken, we would collect trace evidence, if again, depending on the type of case, but you would not want to do that after you clean the body. So we'll collect any trace evidence and then fingerprint the body, and then we will clean the body. And that way you remove any clothing, any evidence of medical intervention, any dirt, blood, etc., so that you can see the body in its entirety.
Now, I noticed in your report, and I believe we're still on page 1, that you talked about the hair being wet.
Yes, sir.
Was that from being cleaned or something else?
No, it was received that way.
And commonly in an autopsy, if the person had been wearing clothes at the time that they were deceased, what would you receive? Just the body or something else?
If they had clothing on at the time that they were pronounced, the clothing would still be on the body, or clothing that may be with the body come with the body.
And was any clothing brought to you with the body of the thing strand?
No, sir.
Now, with regard to...
And it's very subtle. And look, I'm not a bodyologist, but you can tell how difficult it is with her. The pursing of the lips, the kind of, it's subtle, but the deeper breaths. This is not easy for her to talk about, but I'm glad that she's making a bridge for the jury. And this should be shown in law schools. This careful, thought out, strategic approach to very difficult witnesses for the jury should be taught. This is good. We should have other baby lawyers look at this, understand the strategy. Heck, get these lawyers, in as professors or to talk at symposia about what they did, what steps they took, because this is how, difficult case autopsies should be handled. I have never seen a better handling of it, and this should be taught. This is full of dignity and respect. It doesn't pull on the heartstrings. It's absolutely one of the better medical examiner directs that we've seen. It just sucks that it's on a monstrous case.
The evidence of the body itself, can you just kind of give us, you weighed the body?
Yes, sir.
Right. What was the weight of this little girl?
The weight is 67 pounds.
And what was the height or measurement?
52 inches.
And in layman's terms, or feet and inches? I don't know.
Maybe do math. I'm showing my Terra County son.
God bless this woman. We needed, because that, on the weight, she nearly lost it. Again, laughing through tears is my favorite emotion. Now, again, Steel Magnolias might not be, my favorite movie of all time, but it's right up there. And There have never been truer words said.
So 60 inches is 5 feet, so she's 8 inches below that, so that's,
4 feet, 4 inches.
sounds good, yes. I'm so embarrassed.
That's right. I think the judge would say you did go to Texas A&M. So.
Oh, no.
So did I.
Oh.
With regard to, so Athena's 67 pounds, 4 feet, 4 inches, is that correct? And what was some of the observations that you made during the external examination of Athena's body?
So I already mentioned that she was received naked, no clothing received with the body. There's no jewelry on the body. In addition, like I said, the surfaces of the body were covered with brown dirt or silt, and there was fragments of brown vegetation within the scalp hair and on the surfaces of her body. She also has what we call pruning or washerwoman changes in the skin of her hands and feet. Other than that, she had some evidence of injury, which is much more extensive than just what I'm describing.
And let's talk about that. Not specifically what the injuries are at this point, but when you open the body bag and you see the body of this little girl, describe for the jury sort of where you're seeing the injuries on her body just from first look.
My initial impression, the first thing I thought is that she is completely congested from the neck up, meaning that it's much darker due to blood kind of being in that area of the body. Trying to think of a better way to describe congested, but it was just, you could tell that there was something going on in the head and neck area. That's before we even cleaned the body.
And congestion, is that related? It's hard. I want to kind of give a lay person's understanding what that means.
It's the best way to describe it is blood's backed up in the vasculature.
And I'm not sure I understand anymore, but what's vasculature?
So all the blood vessels that circulate blood throughout your body are the vasculature system. So it's arteries, veins, and connecting those two are capillaries.
And is that something that you see in certain types of deaths versus others?
Yes.
And can you describe that for the jury?
Well, let me say congestion on its own as an isolated finding can be nonspecific. And you can see it in sudden cardiac deaths. You can see it in drownings. You can see it in asphyxial type deaths. So it's nondescript on its own, but a constellation of findings can be more helpful when you're making a diagnosis.
And when you're saying a constellation of findings, are you talking about the overall findings taken together?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, once she was cleaned up, could you still see this congestion, the blood near the skin from her basically mid-chest to the top of her head?
Yes, sir.
And would the fact, I guess I have to frame it to you in a hypothetical situation, if a person had received injuries close to the time of their death and then was immediately put in a cooler type situation, either a colder body of water or a cooler like you have in your laboratory, would that essentially sort of,
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
what would that do? Sorry.
Okay, your objection leading is overruled based on the last statement.
So if I'm repeating your question,
Yes.
if someone had those findings and then died, would they be altered by being put into a cooler?
Yes.
Sorry, JKD Buck, it's direct, not redirect. This is direct.
No.
Okay. Would it slow the normal rate of something that might change the appearance over time?
So the coolness of the cooler is to preserve the condition of the body by decreasing the rate of decomposition. That's just a known fact that decomposition slows when it's cold.
So if a body were put into a colder body of water in November, would that also help slow the rate of decomposition?
Yes, sir.
Now, with regard to the body of Athena Strand, we're talking about the external examination. Were there further, go to the next page. This is the page 2 of State's Exhibit number 274. You kind of went on to describe some more of the findings in the external examination.
Yes, sir.
And I don't necessarily feel like you have to read every word, but if you would give it sort of a synopsis and then maybe also explain as best you can in layperson's terms so we can understand it as well.
Sure. Just starting from the top.
Yes.
So basically, I even mentioned that the head and face exhibit trauma. There's generalized congestion of the head and face, which I just mentioned. I note that her hair is blonde and it's wavy and it's long and that it's damp. And then her eyes are green in color. When you look at the whites of her eyes and the lining of her eyes, you see florid petechial hemorrhages, which are florid just means they're everywhere. Petechial hemorrhages specifically refer to these tiny pinpoint hemorrhages. that you see throughout the eyes. Let's see.
And those are very typical with a strangulation or even labor. Women will typically break a lot of blood vessels in their faces. So those are typically the two times where you will have those petechial hemorrhages. But I'm sure she'll go on to say that. She probably won't add the labor part.
Has her teeth are kind of a mixture of what we call deciduous teeth and erupting adult teeth, which is appropriate for a 7-year-old. The neck has trauma, the chest is trauma. I did not appreciate any trauma on her vagina or within her vagina. The vaginal hymen is present and it's intact. I did examine her anus. She had some fecal material on the perianal skin, but I did not see any trauma to her anus. And then her extremities, so the arms and the legs, also showed trauma. Her fingernails are all intact, but the fingernails themselves are dirty. The toenails are also short and dirty. The soles of her feet are dirty, but otherwise unremarkable. And then the back has trauma.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit as we go through this, because there are some photographs I believe that correspond to some of these things. Specifically, State's Exhibit number 235. Could you examine that and tell me what you see in that photograph? 235.
Sorry, I kind of juggled this. Yes, sir.
Can you just give a brief description of what's shown in that photograph?
So a standard photograph that we take on all of our postmortem examinations is what we call an identification photograph. So it will be a picture of the decedent's face with a number placard with that IFS number, the unique identifying number for that decedent.
And on that placard, if you use that as a cutoff in the picture, meaning you can see what's below and what's above it, do you see a marked difference between what is displayed above that placard from her mid-chest up than what's below that placard?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe what that difference is?
So again, you can still appreciate the congestion in her head and face, and you can see multiple types of blunt force injuries, essentially from the middle of her upper chest to the top of her head.
And going on to look at, there's a series of.
We are taking a quick puppy kitten break because I'm not sure where we're going to get the DNA because he is being charged with SA of Athena. So I'm not sure where they got the DNA from, but we are going to take a puppy kitten break because, gosh darn it. While I very much appreciate the way they are doing this, this little girl having all those bruises, and as much as they're trying to be gentle, you can tell this is horrific just by her facial expressions. So we're going to take a quick puppy kitten break, get a breather, and then we'll continue.
When the world feels like a dumpster dive and humans forget how to thrive, take a break, just you and me, with a puppy and kitten, wild and free. Paws and purrs, let's drift away to a land where tails wag and play. No more noise, just gentle muse in our furry four-legged cruise.
Absolutely, and we will see you back in. Take care of yourself. This is some difficult stuff.
Then I believe it's 236, 237, 238, 239, 240, and 241. Do those show her eyes on both sides of her face?
Yes, sir.
And you describe, I believe, what you refer to as florid petechial hemorrhages. We're not going to be showing these to the jury at this point, so can you kind of describe, as you're looking at the photograph itself, whichever photographs you think best shows it, identify that photograph and describe what you see there as the florid petechial hemorrhages.
Sorry, let me. So in State's Exhibit 236 and 238, They are photographs of the right eye, showing petechial hemorrhages in the whites of the eye, which is called the sclera, and within the lining of the eyes, which is called the conjunctiva. And then same for States Exhibit 239 and 241.
And what is the significance or possible significance of finding these florid petechial hemorrhages in the eyes, such as in the case of Athena?
Again, as an isolated finding, can be very nonspecific. You can see them in different types of deaths, sometimes sudden cardiac death.
And I do like that she's adding this, because it's almost like I'm a nerd. I like that this has kind of become a teaching thing, but I also like that she's explaining kind of the way she went through her investigation on what happened to this little girl. And a lot of medical examinations are very much like a trial in that, you have to look at the fact pattern and pick the right diagnosis or the right crime. So there is part of this that I think is interesting, and I appreciate the way she's presenting it. It's just a rough case.
You can have those sometimes depending on what position that you die in, you can see those. So as an isolated finding, petechial hemorrhages are not diagnostic, but again, taken in a constellation of findings can be.
And taken into the constellation of findings in this case, was that significant to you?
Yes.
In what way?
Because it wasn't just petechial hemorrhages in the eyes, it was her entire face, basically her entire head with all of that congestion. So it implies that blood is pooling in that region of the head.
And what are the possible causes of that kind of blood pooling in those regions of the head?
So my big concern was that there was an asphyxial component to this death.
And you say asphyxial component, can you explain that to the jury?
Asphyxia is a fancy word. It's a mechanism for how somebody can die, and there's different types of asphyxial deaths because you don't just spontaneously asphyxiate. There needs to be an explanation for why it occurred. But basically it means that the body is starved of oxygen. Either the blood supply is cut off or not able to supply blood, especially to the brain or the airway, or the person is not able to actually breathe and get that oxygen into the body. So examples of asphyxial death: smothering, strangulation, mechanical asphyxia, chemical asphyxia, carbon monoxide is an example, but that's an overview of asphyxia.
Understood. So you said smothering and strangulation are one of the
Two possibilities.
Two possibilities of asphyxia.
Yes.
So, and you understand that in this particular case, that the defendant, Tanner Horn, has pled guilty to the offense that he was charged with.
Yes, sir.
And that was by causing the death of Athena Strand by smothering and or strangling and or asphyxiating Athena Strand with his hands, his feet, or his body.
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense, given the finding that you're describing right here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In addition, do you, first of all, with asphyxia itself, is that a type of blunt force trauma? Or strangling and smothering and strangulation?
Yes.
Okay.
We had a question clarified.
The question was, with asphyxia itself, is that a type of blunt force trauma or strangling and smuggling
If I can,
and strangulation?
strangulation and smothering, are those a type of blunt force trauma?
Blunt force trauma would indicate that the body comes in contact with a blunt object. That could fall, those both could fall under the umbrella of blunt force injuries.
So in addition to that type of blunt force trauma, if you see other indications of blunt force trauma?
Yes, sir.
Can you just from the opening photographs, kind of describe what you're seeing that indicates to you that there was other blunt force trauma?
So types of blunt force trauma would be as something as superficial as what we call an abrasion or a scrape. It's a friction injury on the surface of the skin. Or it could go deeper to where you have an impact and you actually break the vasculature under the skin, and now you have a contusion, also known as a bruise. Or it could go so far as the blunt object overcomes the elasticity of the skin to where now you've got it creates a gash, or what we call a laceration. So abrasions, contusions, and lacerations are all examples of blunt force injuries. What I saw on the decedent,
I very much kind of identify with her. I've noticed this as I've watched her testimony. This is her safe space. And when she gets to questions that are hard to her, she kind of switches into teacher mode at first and goes very general with the question to kind of give herself the breathing space to get into the specific parts about Athena. It's just a quirk I've noticed, and I think I notice it because I tend to do that. I will if I don't want to go with or pay attention to a subject, I will go very general to give myself time to really figure out how I'm going to be able to say something and maintain my composure.
Was a mixture of abrasions and contusions. I did not see any lacerations on the skin.
But it had both the abrasions, which are what you described at a more skin level, is that correct?
Yes.
And then the contusions, which are deeper into the musculature of the body, is that right?
Yes, under the skin. So it would be what we call the subcutaneous soft tissues or the muscles, all of the above.
All right. So let's go on here. Before you go into the actual evidence of injuries, do you note any potential scars, things like that on the body so that you can distinguish that from the injuries themselves?
Yes.
And as part of your bench notes that you keep, do you have a diagram related to potential scars or other things?
Yes.
And what is the purpose of doing that prior to documenting, or I don't know if you do it prior to or after? What order?
No, same time. I just, for organization purposes, I don't like to have too much messy writing all on the same page. So this is what I do for all of my cases. I have a separate page for like, potentially identifying features, hair color, eye color, scars, tattoos, etc. And then I do a separate page for any evidence of injury. But they're done concomitantly.
All right. That's a big word. What does that mean?
At the same time.
At the same time. All right. Thank you. With regard to once you've done that, were there any major scarring or other injuries, evidence of prior injuries on the body of Athena Strand?
She just kind of has some scattered scars. I think somewhere on the extremities, on the abdomen, but nothing specific.
Anything unusual for an active, precocious 7-year-old girl?
No.
Okay. Now, with regard to the evidence of injuries, let's start talking about that. You talk in your report on the bottom of page 2, you begin with what we call blunt force injuries. Can you distinguish, just as far as terminology, what the difference is between blunt force injuries and some other types of injuries?
So I described previously that a blunt force injury is when the body comes in contact with a blunt object. Contrast to that would be sharp force injuries, where the body comes in contact with a sharp object like a knife or scissors, a razor blade, etc. Those are a different pattern of injuries. We do not have those here, but just to contrast it with blunt force injuries.
Thank you. Now, when you are beginning to document the blunt force injuries on the body of Athena Strand, do you start in a certain area and go other areas after that?
Yes, it's my convention. I like to start with the head and neck, and then I'll move to the trunk and then the extremities. But that's just my convention.
And is that something that you do on every autopsy?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's talk about the head and the neck of Athena Strand.
Okay.
Because that's the order that is in your autopsy, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I want you to kind of give your basic findings. And if you need to, we're going to talk about some of the photographs that go with those in a moment. But if you need to stop and explain a word, because we know we all won't understand it, if you do that, I appreciate it.
Sure. So I'm just going to kind of read what I have written here. But for the head and neck area, so starting with on the forehead, there's a 1.5-inch focus of patterned abrasions that are on the right side of your forehead. So they're abrasions because they're.
And this is why they were looking at Mr. Tanner's shoes, and then why they had to remove the flooring on the abduction truck. Whether she fell on the floor or however the patterns got there, the patterns on her temple matched the flooring of the floor of the van where she was abducted. But it was a weird pattern that they found on her body, and they were worried that it might have come from shoes. But when they examined the van, they realized that the patterns were very similar and could be, shown to be very similar to each other.
A superficial injury of the skin, but they have this zigzag, almost like a tread-like pattern on the right side of her forehead. And then she also has a 3/4 inch contusion on the middle of her forehead. She has a 3/4 inch contusion above the lateral aspect of her left eyebrow. She has more of those pattern abrasions, of the zigzag pattern abrasions and abraded contusions that actually go across both of her eye areas, across the entire nose, from the root to the bulb. This is the bulb of the nose for me. And also across her mid-face, including the cheeks the philtrum, which is the space between the nose and the upper lip, and she even has it a little bit on her upper lip as well. She also has a 2 by 2 inches abraded contusion on the right temple area of her face. She has a linear abrasion that's 1 1/4 inches just below her left eye. She has a 1/2 inch pale blue contusion of the left cheek that is just anterior to her left ear. She also has a small contusion, it's a 1/4 inch that's on the helix of her ear, which is the loopy part of your ear. And she has a 1/2 inch contusion on the posterior aspect of her left ear. And then she also has a red contusion just posterior to her left ear, kind of in this area. She has a 3/8 inch contusion of the lower left cheek. She has a small contusion, it's 1/8 of an inch on the right side of her upper lip. When you actually pull up the upper lip and you see this flap of skin that connects the lip to the gums, that's called the frenulum. Just left of that, she's got another contusion of her gums in that area. That's 1/2 inch. She has a very small superficial laceration on the interior of the left side of her lower lip. That's 1/16 of an inch. And then she also has, I'm just going to be real, instead of being descriptive, she has what look like bite marks. It's really a curvilinear series of lacerations that correspond with her upper teeth. She has bite marks on the surface of her tongue.
I don't know. I am a bit confused as to where they found his DNA to charge him with SA with the findings that she's already talked about. There not being signs of abuse in those areas to the naked eye. That being said, this is horrible. And again, I appreciate not only the judge, but the state making this as easy as possible, because even with her being very clinical and just pointing out, this is horrifying. And like I said, I'm glad that they're being very protective of the jurors. And I think of all the ways to present this, this is probably the best way that they could have.
There is a 1 inch linear abrasion on the submental region of her head that's under the chin. She's got a contusion of the right side of the submental region of her head. And then she has a 1/2 inch focus and then a larger 1 1/2 inch focus where the skin is kind of a discolored gray brown. And that also had a pattern of abrasions that is different than the zigzag pattern I was seeing on her face. This pattern is square and it looks more like a grate or like a mesh pattern, and that's on the left side of her jaw. She also has more of those zigzag tread-like pattern abraded contusions across the anterior aspect of her neck and the middle of her upper chest. And then she
Okay, guys. Well, we are going to take about an hour and a half break. I have to go get the youngmost ferals. I didn't even realize we were getting so close to the time I have to pick them up. So I apologize for not giving you guys a bigger warning that we were going to be stopping here. Now, I will be continuing. I am of the opinion we should get tough stuff over with and done with instead of waiting for it. So I will be finishing this, and I will be cutting this up into probably 2 parts. Obviously, this is going to continue to be incredibly hard to deal with testimony, so be kind to yourself. If you can't hang out, in the next stream, that is completely okay with me. I would much rather you guys have, you know, a good firm grasp on what you can and can't tolerate, but we will be finishing at least this particular witness. If I'm feeling froggy, we'll finish up the rest of the day, but we might stop after this witness just to get her all done. And like I said, I am very grateful that this level of care was taken, and the right people were put in charge of this case. I have been extremely impressed. So we will be back here in about an hour and a half. I will have a Rumble stream set up for this because, this might not be the most, look, this case might need some Rumble words. So we will get back to that. It will be more after darkish. I might have some cursey words, but we are basically going to get through this and honor Athena. I will see you guys in about an hour and a half. be kind to yourselves, be kind to others. If you have an opportunity in the hour and a half that we will be away from each other, do something kind in Athena's name. You know, spread kindness. There are always human monsters out there, but there are a lot more kind people with dark senses of humor. So if you want to hang out with us, the Petty Express will be writing again in an hour and a half, and I will see you there. Bye, you guys.